Hey, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto was banished and erased the Hokage monument in one strike? If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments. And also check the description to original creator of this beautiful creation. With everything that has happened in the last few days, he could only stare at the clear blue sky. No one could really blame him. He was just banished from his home, Konohagakure no Sato village. He lost his friends and his fellow Konoha shinobi, his comrades in arms. He was crushed and humiliated by the one he thought he loved since early childhood. Who was this exiled shinobi? Well, he stood 4 feet 8 inches, which is pretty short for his age, and wears an orange tracksuit with blue on the upper shoulders area as well as around the waist, a white swirl with a tassel on the left side, a red swirl on the back, a large white collar, orange pants, blue sandals. He has blue eyes and blonde, spiky hair. On each cheek are 3 whiskers like birthmarks. Yes, Naruto Uzumaki, Konoha's show-off. Number 1 unpredictable. Noisy ninja has been exiled for the successful retrieval of Sasuke Uchiha. Did those old fools honestly expect him to return willingly? He asked to himself. Flashback. 2 bloody and ragged bodies were heading towards Konoha. Out of the 6 Konoha shinobi that were sent to retrieve Sasuke Uchiha, the last, loyal, Uchiha of Konoha, 5 have been successfully brought back home. One had barely any injuries, another one was severely injured, and the other 2 were in intensive care at the very least. However, none of them can possibly compare to the last 2. The less injured of the 2 was being carried by the other one. What Sasuke was wearing was the ragged remains of what was once a blue, short-sleeved shirt with a high collar and the Uchiha crest on the back and white shorts. They were both soaked in water and somewhat covered in blood. His black chin-length hair was covered in blood. While strands of his hair were covering his face, it did not matter. It was all bruised up and swollen anyway. His skin tone was pale, opposed to his normally fair skin tone. Bruises, cuts, scrap, and other injuries covered his entire being. By the position of his arms and legs, you can guess he has some fractured and broken bones and muscle ligaments. A look at his chest showed there was a high percentage of some broken ribs and damaged organs. In addition, he is the less injured of the 2. For this individual, it is a miracle for him to not only to be alive, but to be walking about while carrying someone with just purely willpower and determination. There were burn marks all over his left shoulder and other areas of exposed skin. His clothes were triple coat painted in blood. Well, with what was left of them, anyway. You could barely tell he had blonde hair. He had a gruesome hole on his chest. Only a few centimeters in and his heart would have been ruptured. A few more to the left would have destroyed his right lung, and some of his left lung was still trying to heal. Blood just keeps oozing out of the wound as if it is a leaking faucet. The 9-tailed demon fox was doing all it could, but it could not completely heal all of his vessel's wounds. He could only heal the minor ones, slow down the process of blood lost in the major ones, and keep him alive. The boy's skin was so pale it was ghostly. He, I told you, I'd bring you back Ibeo. He said to his passenger in a raspy voice. Even if I had to break every bone in your body. Quote, you bastard, the dark-haired boy retorted. I told you, Pant, that I have no need for Konoha anymore. He stated as he was trying to breathe through his injured lungs. Oh, shut up, Naruto groaned before finally all of their willpower and strength leaves them. Naruto collapses right there with an unconscious Sasuke on his back. The world around him goes black. Unknown to him, Kakashi with Pakun showed up just in time to catch him and Sasuke. They both then hurried back to Konoha. End of flashback. And to think I really liked that heartless, shallow-minded bitch Ibeo. He thought as he shakes his head of the painful memory while heading in an unknown direction. Well, at least I know someone I can count on. What happened next would leave him scarred and honored for the left of his life. Nevertheless, at least there was a positive aspect. Flashback. We find our blonde friend waking up to the bright lights and gray ceiling of a hospital room. When he looked to the left, he saw his friend Shikamaru Nara, who was the leader of the Sasuke retrieval team. Oh, you're finally awake, he said, seeing Naruto move in the bed. Hey Shikamaru. How are the others? Naruto asked as the color was back in his skin and the hole in his chest completely gone. The only way to tell he was injured would be the fact he was dressed as a mummy, covered in bandages. They did make it right? Troublesome. Yeah, they made it. Choji and Neji were in serious care from their injuries, but made it through. Kiba and Akamaru are fine. They just need to take it easy for a few days, he explained to the blonde. Sigh. Lee was the most troublesome. Why? Did that bone freak actually beat Centipede Brows? He asked, becoming a little worried for his friend. No and yes. If it were not for the backup Hokage-sama sent for us, Choji would be the only one left. Those troublesome sand siblings, Shikamaru muttered at the end. Wait, Gaara is here? Now, Naruto was confused. He could understand another team being sent, but from another village? Well, I hope Gaara is not still bloodthirsty. The laziest member of the Rookie 9 just sat there while shaking his head. Yeah, he and his team are. Well, they helped us out. I guess that means something good, right? Shikamaru just nodded his head yes, too lazy to answer. Just then, the door to his room slides open to reveal 3 new visitors who soon entered. There was a girl holding a bouquet of flowers, in a beautiful arrangement of yellow and pink flowers. In addition, there were 2 other people next to her. The girl is about the same height as Naruto. She has dark blue hair, fair skin, and white eyes that have a tinge of lavender in them. Her hair is in a short, leveled cut style just above her forehead, with chin-length strands framing her face. She wore a cream-colored hooded jacket with a fire symbol on the upper right and left sleeves and fur around the cuffs and hem, with navy blue pants and blue ninja sandals. Her headband was hanging around her neck. She had a weapon pouch strapped to her right thigh. Her face was imitating a tomato with how red it was. She was also shaking from shyness and nervousness. The one to her right was in a wheelchair. He has messy brown hair, sharp black eyes with vertical slit-like pupils, and pronounced canine teeth. He also has the distinct red fang markings of the Inuzuka clan on his cheeks. You could see his hair, because the hood to his gray, hooded fur-lined coat was down. He was wearing dark grayish pants that reached down to his calves and blue ninja sandals. There was a white furred puppy in bandages on his lap. He had a look on his face that said, "Say anything about this and I'll hurt you." The one to the right was standing straight with his arms crossed over his chest. He was one that shocked Naruto the most. He had fair skin and short, spiky, auburn hair that was more close to being red than brown. He had a red tattoo of the kanji for love on the left side of his forehead. He had tanuki-like black eye rings around his green eyes. He wore reddish-brownish overalls with long sleeves and an upright collar. He also wore a white cloth over his right shoulder and the left side of his hips, had mesh armor on his wrists and ankles, and a wide leather band system over the left shoulder and right side of his hips that helps him carry around his sand gourd. "Hey guys, what you doing here?" Naruto asked his new visitors. The redhead just moves to the other side of Naruto's bed and forms a chair out of sand from the gourd. "I came to see if you recovered yet," he stated in a dead-tone voice. Naruto locked eyes with Gaara and saw what his voice lacked, emotion. He saw care and worry. Something he never thought possible from Gaara. "You know Gaara, you've changed since our fight," he replied to the now peaceful redhead. "I have you to thank for that," Gaara said with a smile. "Ah, how sweet. I want to know what that girl is here for," a dark voice in his head asked. "What the hell? 9 Tails, is that you?" he asked the creature mentally. "Of course it is, you idiot. Who else is sealed inside you?" The 9 Tails answered back. "It seems that fight with the Uchiha boy opened a pathway for us to talk. Oh sweet vengeance. Ha ha ha," it continued before letting out into a menacing laugh at the end. While that conversation went on, Gaara was looking puzzled at his friend who has been still, which is very unlike him. "Naruto, are you alright?" Naruto shook his head to clear his thoughts and turned to Gaara. "Yeah, I think we have another thing common now Gaara," he said to his fellow Jinchuriki. Gaara just leaned his head to the side thinking what he could mean. Then he sees Naruto's eyes dimmer again. Could his demon be talking to him as Shukaku does with me? He wondered to himself. "Naruto, do you mean?" Naruto just nodded his head, yes. "Well, don't worry," he stands up and the sand began to return to his gourd. "You'll get used to it." He then started to head towards the door. "Well, I'll be back. I have to report with my team." "So what was that all about?" the confused boy asked in the wheelchair. "Looks like you two have some secret." Naruto just stiffens up a little at the word secret. Thankfully, only Shikamaru noticed this but thinks that it is too troublesome to mention it right now. And no, there is no secret at all, Kiba. He. We just understand one another, he replied nervously with a nervous laugh. Our lives growing up were about the same. Everyone else just nods in understanding of what he meant. It was no secret to everyone that Naruto had a rough time growing up. And if this Gaara had a similar life, then it is understandable if they both were close friends. So Naruto, looks like you got the shit beat out of you, Kiba joked with a chuckle to a mummified Naruto. You feel better than you look? It's not as bad as it looks. Tsunade Bakken probably thinks I'll need to stay here a while, he said as he rubbed the back of his head with his arms. I feel fine. I should be all ready to leave this nightmarish place in the morning at the latest. That caused Kiba to sweat drop and mentally cursed. Damn, how do you heal so fast? Kiba thought with jealousy as he looked away. I'm so glad Naruto-kun, thought the blue-haired girl, who is just staring at Naruto with relieved smile. So, what do you want, dog breed? Naruto joked back at Kiba. With a tick mark forming on his head, Kiba just answered, me? Nothing, you idiot. He then pointed his thumb at the shy Hyuga next to him. Hinata's the one who wanted to come and say, hi, to you. I just wanted to see if you had died yet. The said girl just squeaked and started shaking more intensely with Kiba putting her in the spotlight. With the way she is acting, I wonder if she's going to confess to him, a very prospective Nara thought. Naruto had a confused look on his face before he replaced it with one of his foxy grin and asked, well then, what do you want, Hinata? Hinata was shocked and a little wide-eyed for a second at being addressed by him. I wanted to? She stuttered as she looked at Naruto, then the flowers, and then back to Naruto. She repeated this pattern for a few seconds, and then stepped closer to Naruto. All the while, she was getting redder in the face. Here. I hope you feel better, and Naruto-kun, she shuddered out while holding out the bouquet of flowers. The said blonde-haired boy just stares at it in disbelief. No one has ever really cared if I got injured before, he thought to himself. Thanks Hinata, he practically yelled as he accepted the flowers, after noticing this is for real. This caused Hinata to feel all warm inside and smiled back. Just then, the door slid open with a slam to show a pissed Kunoichi. She had bright pink hair, large green eyes, fair skin, and a rather large forehead. She wore a red kipao dress with white circular designs, without short sleeves, with a zipper, tight dark green shorts, and a forehead protector, which she is using to accentuate her face. She stomped over to Naruto. Sakura ch. That was as far as he could say before she slapped him. When he looked back, his face had a completely shocked look on it. She then punched him in the face, sending him off the bed into the window next to the bed that he was just seconds ago occupied. He slowly slumped to the floor. Sakura, what do you think you're doing? An angry Shikamaru demanded as he knocked over his chair as shot up. Kiba was just frozen from shock. He was doing a good impression of a fish with his mouth opening and closing that fast. Shut up, all of you. Sakura stated with her killer intent as she turned her head to glare at them. There was fire in her eyes and anger in her voice. Cough, saw Sakura-chan, what the hell? Hacks up some blood? Did I do TT Ibeo? Naruto weakly asked, raising his head up a bit with his left eye open. She turned her attention back to Naruto. What did you do? What did you do? She repeatedly yelled at him. I asked you to bring him back, not kill him. It's a miracle he's still breathing. She then punched Naruto in the gut, which caused Naruto to cough up some blood. Sakura, stop this right now. Shikamaru and Kiba yelled. The latter just got over his shock. Sasuke was trying to kill Naruto. He had no choice but to fight back. He just wouldn't listen to reason. The shadow user tried to explain to her. Sakura just stood over Naruto with fury radiating from her. I said shut up, she screamed as she turned her face towards them. Sakura-san, please, you must understand. Naruto-kun did what he could. Hinata barely managed to get out. You're one to talk, Hinata. You're only defending him because you like him. Naruto and Hinata's eyes widened to the size of saucer plates. Naruto then looks at Hinata in shock. Sakura then headed over to Hinata. Now. Everyone but him can tell how you feel about him. He is just so pathetic he cannot see it. And so are you. Sakura yelled before backhanding Hinata across the face, who crying out in pain. Hinata stumbled backwards and fell to the floor. Meanwhile, the pink banshee walked back over to Naruto, who was now glaring dangerously at her to continue his beating. She pulled her left arm back to punch him, but she then realized she could not move. "What, Shikamaru?" Sakura exclaimed as she realized that it was his doing. Shadow imitation technique was a success. Shikamaru stated with a sigh as he is in his familiar kneeling position. "Sakura, how could you do this? Naruto is not only our comrade, but injured one at that. Konoha shinobi don't attack each other unless it is a spar or an official match. And even then, you don't go for the kill." Kiba ranted with a now barking dog agreeing with him. "I remind you, while they are not yelling they are loud. Did you see what he did to Sasuke-kun?" She yelled at them. "He's a monster. I hate him. I'll never forgive him for what he did." The shadow imitation technique soon subsided. With the ability to move again, Sakura left the room with a humph, stomping away. Before Shikamaru could blink, Hinata was by Naruto's side and was heartbroken at the sight of him. Naruto was in ruins. His heart was left permanently scarred. Again, he could not possibly hope to hold back the tears. Hinata was on the floor holding him in her lap. She was rubbing his back to try to ease the pain. Hinata was in tears herself, but was staying strong for Naruto. "Shush. Everything's okay, Naruto-kun," she continues to console the heartbroken ninja. The others were both sad and moved by the scene in front of them. "Don't worry, I'll never hate you." Naruto looked up at her with a tear-stained face and red-shot eyes. Looking into those sparkling lavender eyes, he sees she meant what she said. Much to her surprise, he latched onto her, holding on for dear life while the waterworks started up again. "Thank you, Hinata," he cried into her. Regaining her composure, Hinata smiled affectionately and hugged him back. That is all that was said before the door reopened, revealing a pissed-off Gaara and Hokage. After calming down Gaara and explaining things to Tsunade, the fifth Hokage, everyone but Naruto and Hinata left the room. Naruto was sleeping by Tsunade's orders after re-healing his old and new wounds. Hinata refused to leave his side. "Naruto-kun, I hate seeing you like this," Hinata whispered to herself. "If only I wasn't so weak. I could help you. Is that so? I might be able to help you there," a voice said from behind Hinata. This startled Hinata to the point where she actually jumped off her chair she was sitting on. When she turned around, she saw the fifth Hokage staring at her. She was a tall, light-skinned woman with light golden amber eyes and straight blonde hair. Her hair is waist-length with shoulder-length bangs framing both sides of her face. She had a violet rhombus mark on her forehead, which she obtained some time after leaving the village. She wore a grass-green robe with the kanji for gamble written in black on the back, inside a red circle. Underneath she wears a gray, kimono-style blouse with no sleeves, held closed by a broad, dark bluish-gray obi that matches her pants. Her blouse is closed quite low, revealing her sizable cleavage. She had open-toed sandals with high heels and red polish on both her fingernails and toenails. She also wore a soft pink lipstick. Tsunade-sama? What can I do for you?" Hinata asked the woman in the doorway. Nothing," she walked over to the girl. "I've heard all I needed to hear." She smiled at Hinata as she goes to the end of the bed for the medical chart. "He'll be all right and will be released tomorrow morning," she said as she checks his vitals and the chart one more time. That's great," Hinata exclaimed. "What's wrong, Tsunade-sama?" she asked as she sees the worried look on her leader's face. "We should go. You need your rest just as much as him. And don't worry about Sakura. I'll have a little chat with her about what she did," she said as she ushered the young Hyuga out of the room. "Listen, if you're serious about what you said, talk to me tomorrow afternoon. All right?" Hinata just nodded her head before bowing and left to return home. Tsunade sighed before looking at one last time. "Naruto, you are going to need to be at top shape for tomorrow's council meetings," Tsunade thought as she too left to get some rest. Dreamscape. What the others thought was a peaceful slumber was actually a meeting of sorts itself. Naruto was dragged to the Nine-Tails cage when he finally fell asleep. "So what you're saying is it was this masked man's fault that you attacked Konoha?" Naruto asked as he stood in front of the giant steel bars of the entrance gate in front of him. Within the cage, lay a giant kitsune with red-orange fur and red eyes. It possessed the upper body structure of a human, complete with opposable thumbs on its clawed hands. The fox was almost as big as the cage, which can almost rival the Hokage residence, with 9 tails swinging behind it. It used to be, if not taller than the Hokage monument, but with its yin chakra sealed away forever by the 4th Hokage, it was now half its original size. That is correct, my young Jinchuriki. Now do you understand my predicament? Its demonic voice asked with amusement. Yay, but why are you being so kind all of a sudden? He asked while taking up a serious and accusing pose. Up until now you were mean and trying to get out. If this is some trick for freedom. He now points his finger and glares at the giant red fox. I'll never allow you to escape and hurt my friends, Dat Bayo. The Jinchuriki proclaimed to his tailed beast. The 9 tails sweat dropped at its container's action. Okay, whatever you say, Naruto. Now on to other more current matters. A weird and creepy smile appeared on its face. An hour later Naruto was sweating bullets and had a crimson red face. In the background is a laugh ringing throughout the basement like landscape. Ha ha ha, you should, ha ha ha, see your face. It's priceless. The giant fox said as it stated to regain control of itself. Shut up, Naruto stuttered out. Now listen Naruto, I am saying this because you need love in your life, the 9 tails explained more to its vessel. With her help, some of these old wounds might be able to heal. Naruto then just stared at the flooded floor. I couldn't lead her on like that, he said in a weak, unsure voice. Surely you could learn to love her back, the 9 tails growled with frustration of the boy's negativity. Besides, we are practically one and I know you already feel something for her. It may not be much, but it can grow to be so much more. All you have to do is give it time. But why are you trying to help me like this? Sigh, because my anger at that damn Uchiha is faded. Now I can see what I have done to hurt you. Now talk to her and bring her here. But what if she turns around and hates me when I tell her about you? Naruto asked as tears started to reform in his eyes from thought of rejection. She won't, trust me. Naruto looked at it questionably. Just call it a tailed beast's intuition. Naruto just nodded as the world around him starts to fade out. Just do what I said and everything will all work out. The 9 tails roared out before the dream world of Naruto's mind goes black. End of Dreamscape. It was morning in Konoha. One certain Hyuga could be seen making her way to the hospital. She did not know why, but she felt that today, something horrible would happen and she just wanted to see her crush before he was released so they could talk. I need to tell him. Even if he already knows, she thought to herself while jumping from rooftop to rooftop, but what if he does not return my feelings? This caused her to stop for a minute. She then quickly shocked her head of such thoughts. I'm sure he'll return them, she reassured herself and was on the move again. With this newfound confidence, she would not take no for an answer. Naruto was just waking up. A nurse told him a couple of minutes ago he could leave in a couple of hours. He was glad to be finally out of here. He never liked hospitals. He got up, showered, and changed clothes. I wonder what she will do when I tell her the truth. He thought as he remembered his talk with the 9 tails last night and just could not feel at ease with it. Even if she does like me now, that will change when she finds out. He was brought out of his thoughts by a knock at the door. Naruto-kun, are you up? A shy voice asked from behind the door. Yeah, come on in Hinata, he called out to the door behind him. Hinata then walked in to see him sitting on the side of the bed looking out the window. She couldn't help but blush when he turned his head around to see her. The sunlight reflecting off his face gave him this guardian angel-like aura around him. He is just so cute, she thinks while a blush finds its way onto her face. Naruto was just staring at her. The 9 tails was right. While it was small, he did feel something for her. They noticed each other staring and quickly looked away. Hinata got redder in the face while Naruto gets a mild flush in his cheeks. Regaining his composure first, Naruto patted the area next to him on the bed. Hinata took it as an offer to sit and joined him on the bed. Here goes nothing, they both thought simultaneously. Hinata? Naruto asked as he tried to start the conversation. Why yes? She answered. There's something I need to tell you. They turned and faced each other. Sakura said you liked me, is that true? Hinata gulped at his question before she answered, why yes. I like you Naruto-kun. He then took her right hand in his. Listen Hinata. She noticed the worried face and fears the worse. Oh no, he doesn't like me, Hinata thought with dread and horror. Do you remember what we were told of how the fourth Hokage killed the Nine Tails? He asked while hearing a fearsome growl in the back of his head at the last part. When she nodded, he continued, that isn't completely true. Hinata gasped at this. He goes on to explain how he learned he was a Jinchuriki, one who has a tailed beast sealed inside of them, from the Mizuki incident. As he explained his meeting with the Nine Tails and the times when he uses its power, her eyes widened at some parts. However, when he was finished, her reaction was one that sealed it for him. Now you know. He looked away from her, tears entering his eyes. I really am a monster, a freak. She brought her hand away from his. That was it. The tears started to form and stain his face. Hinata, who was in shock about what he just told her, quickly got over it. She then wrapped her arms around him, pulled him into a hug, and started to cry too. You are no monster, Naruto-kun. She cried, which left Naruto in shock at her proclaim. He then returned the hug. Thank you, Hinata, he said softly and sweetly into her left ear, while he rested his head on her left shoulder. Those words combined with his warm breath on her neck sent shivers down her spine. Hinata, I do feel something for you. I have never been in this situation before. If you can understand this, I know a way that'll make it so we end up together, but there is a catch. He broke from the embrace with her. Her face was red and sported a slight frown from the separation. He looked her dead in the eyes. If you accept this, I promise I'll do everything in my power to keep you happy and safe. Hinata just tackled him, crying into his chest. Naruto-kun, I've always loved you and will never stop doing so. She looked up to his face and said, I'll do whatever I had to do to be with you, Naruto-kun. Naruto just smiled with one of his foxy grins, which sped up Hinata's heart pace. She always liked the way he smiled like that. Now this might hurt a little and you need to follow my exact instructions. This will only work if it's done right. You understand? She nodded her head and waited for her instructions. Good. Now when He then leaned down to her neck and stops as he continued. Bite you? You must bite me as well and pour your chakra into it, understood? He doesn't get a verbal answer. Hinata then leaned into his neckline to await further instructions. Feeling each other's breath on their skin sent chills down their spines and throughout their body. Naruto kissed the area right over her left neck pressure point and gentle bit down. Hinata, feeling the kiss, shivered lightly before biting down on his right neck pressure point. They both then focused their chakra into their teeth to send into the bite. Hinata finished first because she does not have any tailed beast chakra to control yet anyway. She soon finds that her body was giving out on her. Electrical shocks fill her entire being. If she was standing, her knees would surely have given out on her. Hell, they were doing that while she sat, which was awkward. Right as Naruto ended the flow of chakra, Hinata had her head tilted back from the pleasure and intense chakra she received. Coming back to her senses, she could not help but frown from a little disappointment. Naruto was staring at her, making her blush and poke her index fingers together. Now don't get scared. It's time to meet the Nine Tails. At his words, her eyes widened as the world around her starts to phase out. She closed her eyes when it felt like she was being pulled towards something. Mindscape. When she opened her eyes, she was scared. Well, she would be if her hand were not intertwined with Naruto, who appeared right next to her. The sight before her was that of a giant gate. Looking around, she noticed the whole place was like that of a basement of an industrial plant, with pipes running along the ceiling and the floor, the latter of which was flooded by water. Suddenly 2 giant red eyes and a mouth full of giant white teeth appeared inside the cage. Well, Naruto, you didn't mess up. Not bad, the Nine-Tailed stated in a strong voice. Naruto looked at the fox with determination in his eyes. Now then, Hinata, correct? The said girl just slowly nodded her head. I've heard your confession and you don't care if I'm sealed in him, correct? Naruto then tightened the grip on her hand for reassurance. Why, yes. I have always loved Naruto-kun. Nothing could change that, she answered confidently. I'll do anything for him. Is that so? Then I have a deal for you. A strange glint appeared in the Nine-Tails' now glowing red eyes. If you could hold half the burden for him, would you take it? Yes, she yelled out. All good. No worries then. With my help and the Hanju conversion seal that you just gave to each other, a portion of my chakra was sealed inside you. You're now what is known as a pseudo-Jinchuriki. On top of that, you both are also now a half-human and half-tailed beast, a Hanju. But there are other things you will need to know. Hinata swallowed the clog in her throat and asked shakily, What are they? First of all, you will never truly be apart with being marked. The Nine Tails started explaining as Hinata started to calm down at that idea. If there ever comes a time when you'll have to mark others, you'll have to also mark them, making them a Hanju as well. It is kind of an all-or-nothing deal with a built-in seal of approval for you, so to spoke. But the question still remains, Hinata, are you willing to share him? Hinata looked down with slightly pink cheeks and does that thing with her index fingers again. I'll do anything for Naruto-kun. Even if I have to share. Naruto then released her hand and just hugged her. He moved his hand to her chin and lifted it up to see into her eyes. When she opened them, they were swelling with held-back tears from the thought of losing her one and only love. By just staring at each other they knew everything would be okay, and if it ever came to that, they would find a way to make it work. Now if you two would mind, I'm not done here yet. The two end their embrace with blushes on their faces. I believe that I can trust two of you with my real name and my other form. My name is Kurama, which was bestowed upon me by the Six Paths Sage, and this. The temperature in the basement started to increase all of a sudden and the fox went up in a crimson flame. When it died down, out stepped a human female with waist-length red-orange hair, fox ears, and 9 foxtails. She was wearing a red kimono that went down to right above her knees. It had a cutout in the middle of her stomach that revealed her belly button and surrounding area. It had pink flowers on the left shoulder. She had red eyes with vertical slit-like pupils and more defined version of Naruto's whisker marks. Her bust was anything but average. Hell, those things could almost rival Tsunade's knockers, for crying out loud. Is my alternate form. So what do you think, guys? She asked as she did a few poses for the stunned and breathtaking preteens. Naruto and Hinata's reactions were same and different at the same time. They both had fish impressions and a blush on their faces. Hinata was awed at the beauty in front of her. Naruto on the other hand did what every man, who didn't have a death wish, would do. He looked at Hinata and keeps yelling to himself to not to stare. If I had looks like that, Naruto-kun wouldn't need anyone else, Hinata thought with admiration. Dear God Almighty, where are shy and timid Hinata thoughts? Naruto was thinking along similar lines. Could Hinata be like that? Throwing away such thoughts, he started to think critically. Why in the name of God am I thinking such thoughts? Wait, oh my God, that perverted sage. He had more of an effect on me than I thought. Datbeo. You're a woman, they both stammered out as they regained self-control. Their response, however, caused the fox woman's face to turn red with fury. And what's wrong with that? From both of your reactions, I was under the impression that it was a good thing, she replied angrily with a scary look on her face. After which, she then just smirked upon seeing their faces flush a deep red. Noticing Naruto's shade is a lot darker, Kurama decided to have some fun at her vessel's expense as she thought. How about I give the kids a little tease for the hell of it? If you were a little nicer to me, Naruto-kun, I could be yours, or I could show Hinata-chan the secret to a great bust. As she's saying this, she bends forward revealing some cleavage, and combined with her pose, Naruto's face flushed atomic red with steam coming out of his ears before he goes flying backwards with a burst of blood shooting from his nose. Hinata is just numbed with shock from what Kurama just said. Could you show me the secret? Hinata asked, barely even a whisper. Kurama just tilts her head in her direction, standing up straight once more. You have nothing to worry about, Hinata. You are already developed for your age as it is. Adding more now would give him a heart attack when you finish your development, she said in a sweet love-filled voice. Now listen, I'm going to send you two back soon, so can you hear me out, Hinata? Hinata nodded her head, yes, while she cares for the passed-out blonde-haired boy. I need your help. Naruto has gone through worse shit than anyone I know, except others like him, maybe. Memories will be transferred to you. You'll feel what he felt, see what he saw and such. Hinata looked at her love now cuddled into her, resting on her lap. With your help, we might be able to change a few things. What is this place exactly, Kurama-san? Please, no san. I was never one for honorifics. Now to answer your question, this is his subconscious, his mind, his soul, Kurama answered, which caused Hinata's eyes to go wide at that. For the next 5 minutes, until Naruto finally awoken, they talked on how to help heal Naruto's wounded being. End of Mindscape and flashback. Naruto was brought out of his thought by the shy sweet voice of his traveling companion. Naruto-kun, are you okay? He looked to his left to see his new reason to live. His love and soul mate, Hinata Hyuga. I'm fine Hinata, he assured, giving her his foxy grin. Just looking back on how all this happened is all. She formed a frown on her face at that, but she quickly gave off her own cute smile. Well, at least we're together, she commented as she leaned into him, holding onto his left arm. Her head rested against his shoulder. I still can't believe Tosama approved of us being married so quickly, she said without a single stutter. After the sealed transfer and talk with Kurama and Naruto, she gained her lost courage and only did it with certain activities. After all, having it for almost her whole life makes it impossible to get rid of all of it so soon. Besides, Naruto said he liked her little shyness quality. Yeah, same here. I seriously thought he was going to kill me. A shiver goes up his spine from the memory. However, the look on their faces when they met Kurama was priceless. Hinata could only agree with him on that. After their meeting with Kurama, Tsunade came and took Naruto into a council meeting while she waited in the Hokage office. Flashback. In a big room with a long table sat the Konoha council. Naruto stood in front of them with Tsunade, Jiraiya, and Iruka Amino beside him. They were arguing with the council, which consists of 2 advisors and the top jonin of the village. Word of his use of the Nine Tails chakra from his fight got out and things were not going so well. Somehow, the third Hokage's law was broken and people that didn't know found out of him being a Jinchuriki. If Tsunade and Jiraiya didn't escort him there personally, then he figured he would have been attacked. Even with the 2 of them, the glares and whispering continued. Some weren't even bothering to keep it a whisper. A mob almost formed too, if it was not for who he was traveling with. Nevertheless, something did surprise him. Some people had a sad look when he looked at them. Perhaps, maybe the villagers were starting to come around, even if it was only a few them. You old fuck, how dare you do this to him? Is this how you treat the 4th sacrifice? Tsunade yelled, her patience quickly disappearing and her temper rapidly growing every second. Shizune was trying to calm her mentor, but even she wasn't happy about what was happening. Shizune was a fair-skinned woman of average height and slender build with black eyes and brown hair. Her hair is straight and shoulder length with bangs that cover her ears and frames her face. She wore a long bluish-black kimono with white trimmings, held closed by a white obi, and open-toed sandals with low heels. He is unstable. You saw what condition that Sasuke Uchiha was in. It is obviously he cannot control the Nine Tails. He must be detained and kept under surveillance at all times. Homura Mitokado, an old wrinkly old man with gray hair, a beard, glasses as well as a constant frown that he's always worn, even in his youth. He also has a strong jawline, a facial structure he has retained even in his old age. As a member of the Konoha Council, he wears similar garbs to those that Hiruzen Sarutobi, the 3rd Hokage, would when acting in his capacity as Hokage, which consisted of a simple long kimono, closed by an obi, a jacket, and a sash over it. Because of the dark room, Naruto could not actually tell what they were all wearing. The room was lit, it was just a dim light unless in his possession. He was an old teammate of the 3rd. He was also one of the head elders, counselors. It was necessary. Sasuke used a powered-up version of the Chidori and thrust it into his chest. He was using Orochimaru's curse seal for God's stake. Iruka accused, screaming to get his point crossed. Silence. Kaharu Utatane shouted with authority, another old prune, and ex-teammate of the 3rd Hokage. She had her hair pulled back in a twin bun locked by a traditional Japanese hairpin with 2 pearls dangling off the side. The pearls on her hair needle have also increased since the time of her youth and tassels were added to the other end. Her earrings are also considerably longer. As a member of the Konoha Council, she, like Homura, wore a simple long kimono, closed by an obi, a jacket, and a sash over it. Kaharu has also taken to squinting, barely opening her eyes at any point in time. You are crossing the line, Iruka Amino. Do not push it. This is what's best for the safety of Konoha and its people. Jiraiya huffed at that statement. You're more like covering up with your hate of the Nine Tails breaking free, he mumbled, but loud enough for everyone to hear him clearly. Jiraiya was one of the 3rd students, the legendary Sannin of Konoha. He was a tall man with waist-length, spiky white hair usually tied back into a ponytail, with two shoulder-length bangs that framed both sides of his face. He also had red lines that ran down from his eyes and wore a horned forehead protector with the kanji for oil, which denotes his affiliation with Mount Myoboku. He also had a noticeable wart on the right side of his nose. Jiraiya wore a green short shirt kimono and matching pants, under which he wore mesh armor that showed out of the sleeves and legs of his outfit. His outfit was completed with handguards, a simple black belt, traditional Japanese geta, wooden sandals, a red cloak with two simple yellow circles, and a scroll on his back. He also had a tattoo in his left palm, which resembles one that Gamma has in his as well. "Are you accusing them of being unfair, Jiraiya?" Danzo Shimura asked with his left brown eye was staring right at Jiraiya. This person was a frail, old man, who walks with a cane. He was once a close friend of the third and competitor for the seat of third Hokage. He had black, shaggy hair, and his right eye was bandaged. Danzo has had an X-shaped scar on his chin ever since his youth. He wore a white shirt, with a brown robe over top of it covering from his feet, to just over his right shoulder. The robe conceals his right arm, which was bandaged. From the first moment Naruto saw this village elder, he knew that he was just evil. The feeling that he lived for the pain and suffering of others came to mind when one looked at him. Realizing that Naruto was watching him, he glared at the boy. Naruto did not take shit from the other two, so he was not going to make an exception for him. "I would advise you watch who you're glaring at, boy," Danzo stated with anger and annoyance. "Like I give a fuck, you ungrateful bastard," Naruto countered back in almost equal tone. "Naruto." Iruka and Shizune gasped, who was just as shocked as everyone else as he watched the two verbally attack each other. "See, he has no control over his emotions. It's because of this that he can't control the Nine Tails' power," Danzo stated with a slight, "I told you so," voice. "He's a danger to everyone in this village. We must do something about this." Tsunade was cut off right before she was going to speak. "Tsunade, our decision is final," Kaharu stated with authority. "Naruto Uzumaki, you are now stripped of rank, statues, and are hereby banished from Konohagakure no Sato until further notice." Naruto didn't know what to think. Hell, he didn't know what to feel. Everything he did was for this village. There were so many emotions going through him right now. Any normal person would just shatter like glass. Well, if he did not already, he might just do that. However, someone beat him to it. In Tsunade's office sat a now destroyed Hinata Hyuga. When Tsunade came to take Naruto, she said to wait in her office. Everything he just learned and is going through was crushing her. Kurama was doing her best to steady the flow from their now active seal links. "Why do I get the feeling that this is not over yet?" The fox half-heartedly thought, too focused on the link between her two hosts. Naruto was with Tsunade heading to her office to meet with Hinata. Shizune left to help the staff at hospital. He now has 1 week to gather his things and leave. How is he going to tell her? He just found someone to care for, to love. How is he going to end that? Suddenly they stopped. Standing in front of them was Hiyashi Hyuga, head of the Hyuga clan. "What can we do for you, Hyuga-san?" Tsunade asked as they walked further along. "I wish to tell you that all of the clans were against this. None of us wanted this to happen. But those two were calling for execution," he stated in his usual dead tone. "Even without our votes they would have found something we did. So in the end, we did the only thing we could think of at the time." "I see. It's good to know that not all of you are as foolish as those two shriveling old crones and that war hawk." Tsunade just could not hold back her anger anymore. "Care to join us, Hyuga-san? We're on our way to my office to meet your eldest daughter." Hiyashi was shocked by this development. To hear his shy, timid daughter was waiting to meet the Hokage was not a normal everyday thing. "May I ask what you need with her?" he asked, raising an eyebrow at the busty blonde-haired woman. "Come if you want. However, I have things to do. So don't pester me with your pointless questions," Tsunade stated as calmly as she could. Well, there goes her self-control. Anger just surrounds hers as brightness surrounds the sun. Jiraiya left the two of them with the courtesy of a chakra-enhanced punch by Tsunade for a perverted mark she just did not need right now. Iruka left because he had things at the academy to take care of. He was also too depressed and shocked at what had just happened. Now with Hiyashi, they make their way to Tsunade's office to meet Hinata, and for Tsunade to get her cup of sake. When they got into the room, Hinata was leaning against the wall on the left. The office itself was not that big. In the back behind the square desk, covered in paperwork, was a wall made of windows that oversaw the village. Hinata was on her feet in no time when she saw the door open. Her eyes widened when she saw her father among them. In addition, the stare he gave her as he passed her to stand in front of the desk Tsunade was now behind sitting in her chair. When she saw Naruto, she ran over to him and they met in a hug. Naruto lifted her up a few centimeters off her feet and they shared their first, but quick kiss. Hinata was practically glowing with delight in a red shade. Naruto was giving off one of his fox grin smiles. Tsunade was wide-eyed and mouth open for a second at what she just saw. Not at the two genin, even though that shocked her still. She just found out about her feelings yesterday. No, she lost herself at Hiyoshi's reaction. Flabbergasted is the only word I know that can describe what he giving off. He was staring directly at the blonde-haired boy holding his eldest daughter. Oh, yes. Hiyoshi was stunned, but not just that. He was pissed. Now mind you, he didn't hold any grudge against the boy, but he was the girl's father and they were doing such things right in front of him. Even if she was deemed a failure in becoming the next successor of the Hyuga clan, she was still his daughter. He was only tough on her to help in making her stronger, when he really only accomplished the opposite. She even lost to her sister, Hanabi, who was 5 years younger than she was in a mock fight some time before she graduated for the academy, which sealed her fate of not becoming the next head of the clan. From the sounds of someone clearing their throat, the two broke the embrace and stand at attention. Well, they tried to. Hinata was red in the face and playing with her index fingers. Naruto's head was up with one of those smiles and his hands behind his head. He opened his blue eyes to see the look of the adults in the room. Upon looking at Hiyoshi, he was ready to piss himself and run from the Hokage tower. He laughed sheepishly while scratching the back of his head. When he saw Hinata in her usual shy pose playing with her hands, he could not help but stare at her beauty. I cannot help but look at her. Why can I not stop looking at her? Why would I stop? He asked himself. Noticing his stare, she gets even more nervous. Damn. She is so cute when she does that. Another throat clearing and they were all paying attention. Now that I got your attention, she moved her arms to gesture towards the seats. Seeing as I've missed something here. Mind explaining why you are acting that way? She asked, pointing towards the two lovebirds on the couch to the right. Yes, I would like to know that as well, Hiyoshi stated, gaining control again, from the chair opposite of them. The two looked at each other and were contemplating what to tell them. Thankfully, the seal link was now fully active and they can have communication through thoughts. A couple of seconds of thinking to each other and they got it. Love, is all they said. The two adults' sweat dropped at the comment. And, Tsunade asked, while making continued gestures. Hiyoshi was debating if he could kill the boy and escape the Hokage's wrath. Naruto, Hinata. At that, both young sets of eyes wide for a second. This didn't escape the eyes of the adults. Yes, Kurama, what is it? Naruto replied. Listen, now I think I have a way to help you two out of this. Just tell them you will tell but not to freak out. I am going to need your help. Channel your chakra when they agree. Why? Hinata asked. Simple, we're going to pull them into Naruto's subconscious, the tailed beast explained. From what the two knew, they agreed with the plan. Now to get the stern father and protective mother figure that could hide emotions at shocks like this. If we tell you two, do you promise not to overreact or anything? Naruto asked. Fine, Tsunade and Hiyoshi replied. Okay then. Naruto and Hinata then started channeling their chakra until red aura blazes around, both of them. Before the others could react, they were covered with the same red chakra and felt as if they were pulled away somewhere. Mindscape. We're here, Naruto said as they became organized. What they saw was a basement of an industrial plant with a massive gate in the center of it. Naruto and Hinata were in front of them holding hands. Where are we? Tsunade screamed while Hiyoshi activated his Byakugan. The veins by his eyes bulged out to be seen by everyone. After a quick survey of the area, he deactivates them and muttered, clever. What's that supposed to mean? A confused Tsunade asked the head of Hyuga clan. You both are inside Naruto's mindscape. A voice answered for him from in front that they did not recognize. When they looked back towards the kids, they were fish out of water at the sight and were nervous. Behind the pair who was now inside the gate, was the nine-tailed demon fox, or what they thought was the strongest of the nine-tailed beasts that nearly destroyed their village. In addition, she was in her human form with only her ears and tails giving her identity away. "Hey, so you two care to know why Naruto and Hinata acting this way?" she asks, stating the obvious while she kneels and puts an arm around each of them. When she gets a nod from two shocked parental heads, then she continued. "Well then, that's easy to answer. They're both married." She gives off a grin and giggle at the two she is talking to. What did you just say?" Tsunade asked while Hiashi demanded. "Well, it is simple really. They are married. In tailed beast and Hanju terms, at least. When you mark your life partner, it's just simply the same as a wedding ceremony for you humans," Kurama explained to the shocked adults. Naruto was looking at her suspiciously. Hinata was in a gaze that her dream came true sooner than she thought it would. Sure, she wanted to marry Naruto, but this was too soon. Looking at the two in her arms, she innocently asked, "What? Didn't I tell you?" When they shocked their head, no, she held a fake, "Oops, look." Anyway, back to why you two are here. It is time to tell you the deal, and my plans are for these two. She then goes into their happiness and the new seal she made with the same properties as the fourth Hokage's four symbols seal, just split. She then explained the meanings of the Hanju conversion seal, Hinata's requirements for the seal, and mating. Nevertheless, Kurama cleverly left out the ones to share Naruto with other women. Hey, there is no reason to kill the new son-in-law, right? Moreover, the deal with Hinata and Naruto to kill this masked man, when they are strong enough, was what really shocked them. Well, is there anything else you need to tell us? Tsunade asked, digesting all she just learned. No, that just about covers it, Naruto answered back. Well, I have a question. Everyone looks at Hiashi as he asked. Why do you speak of them as if they're your own children, Nine Tails? Tsunade nodded, wanting to know the same thing. I have been wondering that myself, but never put much thought into it. Naruto lifts his head back to look into said vixen's red eyes. Why is that, Nine Tails? Why? Well, Tsunade may be like a grandmother or something, but she just meet you. I've known you your whole life, she explained before she gives an unexpected fox hug to her blonde host. And you need all the love one can give. I have caused too much hatred in your life and I need to make up for it. Besides, I feel for both you two as my own, even if it isn't true. Okay, I understand. Please, let go. I can't breathe. Naruto muttered as he started to turn blue in the face. Seeing this, she quickly released him and apologized sheepishly. Now that everything is settled, can we get out of here? Tsunade asked, having seen what she needed to see. The trio nodded before Kurama said something to the pair that left them blushing. Hiashi and Tsunade felt they don't even want to know what was said to them, considering who was the one that said it. Next then she and Hiashi knew, they felt that dragging feeling again before being pulled from Naruto's subconscious. End of Mindscape. Tsunade slumped in her chair in exhaustion. What a day, she mumbled quietly to herself. Hiashi was still staring critically at Naruto. However, that was a predictable thing. He would get over it anyway. So Hokage-sama, what was it you needed of me? Hinata asked to everyone's surprise. She didn't shudder, they all thought in almost complete unison. Damn, she is so much cuter when she does shudder. Just not when it is a lot, was Naruto's complete thought. Before I answer that, Hiashi, is there anything you need from me? The fifth asked the Hyuga head. The same as what my daughter asked you, he replied. Sigh. Fine, Hinata, before all this, I was planning on asking you if you would consider being my apprentice. Hinata goes wide-eyed, while Hiashi raised an eyebrow at what coming next. But because of what just transpired, I can't let that happen. Hinata then got depressed and hung her head down low in depression. Seeing his love so sad, he just had to make a scene. Hey, what's up with that Bakken? He yelled angrily. Now it is his turn to be angry, if he was not already. This has to deal with me, not Hinata to Ttibao. Hinata's face turned red at Naruto's attempt to defend her. Tsunade waited for Hiashi's reaction. Hiashi just blows it off. He understands there is nothing he can do. In addition, he understands fairly well what Tsunade is implying. First off, stop calling me that. Second, Naruto, I cannot take her as an apprentice because she would have to stay here. And if she is to be with you, she must leave along your side, Tsunade explained to him. All her ties with Konoha except her Byakugan will be erased like yours. He doesn't know what to say. He wants to be with her but not at the cost of her happiness. It is then that he makes up his mind. Then Hinata stays here, he said with confidence. Now this caught everyone off guard. He then turned to her. Hinata, stay here. You will be much stronger and happier here if you stay. There is nothing else left for me here. I can give you only my feeling when I leave. I do not know where to go. Alternatively, what will happen? Sigh, besides, do you not have family here? Hell, even if they don't show that much emotion. He smiled while pointing a thumb at her father, who narrowed his eyes a bit. This boy keeps making this much harder than it needs to be, Hiyashi thought as he groaned to himself. Naruto-kun? I don't mind any of that. I don't care, as long as I'm with you. She then grabbed hold of his arm tightly. Looking into his blue eyes, she begged, please Naruto-kun. Please let me come with you. She started to cry a little. This hurt Naruto, so much that he almost couldn't bear it. But what about your training? You could be so, Naruto started to say but interrupted by Tsunade. As moving as this is, I never said I couldn't train her. I just said she couldn't be my apprentice. Everyone snapped their heads so fast in her direction they should have broken. Tsunade then sweat drops at the looks on their faces. I can give her scrolls and books she'll need to memorize to be a medical nin. Besides, you have about a week before you have to leave. I can give her pointers and advice on my strength and medical expertise. Now she gave off a smile. Well, if everything is settled, then I have one thing to do. Hiyashi started to head towards the door but stops as he cracked it open just a bit. You do realize you'll probably never see I or Hanabi ever again if you go through with this, right? He asked, looking at her firmly. Hinata nodded sadly, as she has considered it. Yes, Tosama. Good, then come by in a few for your things and say your goodbyes. I'll have a few scrolls for you. He exited the room and started closing the door slowly to add effect to his stare at Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki, if you hurt my daughter, even if you have the 9 tails inside you, I'll hunt you down and I'll kill you. All but anger were gone and the level of killer intent was suffocating if you were not used to it as he was. That was surprising and unusual, wasn't it? The recovering knucklehead blonde genin asked. Everyone that was left in the room just nodded. They quickly went over the banishment and Tsunade had both of them returned their forehead protectors, despite how much she didn't want to. As they left, it finally sank into Naruto that he will never become the Hokage. After everything he had done for the village, they were once again punishing him for something that was beyond his control. After that, everything went back to normal. Well, for Naruto that was. He was beaten by villagers a couple of times, but he pushed the pain away. The word of him being the Jinchuriki of the 9 tails, things got worse and better. His friends got more respect for him. They did not care about him being a demon jailer. Many of the shinobi population didn't, but some old fucks you are better without. Sasuke and Sakura treated him the same as the villagers. Hell, they started by treating him like the plague. The week came and went. It was time for them to move out. Hinata had some advanced gentle fist art scrolls and other moves from her clan. She was able to train with Neji for a short while after he got out of the hospital. Tsunade was able to give her some advice on which books to memorize first and which healing techniques to learn first. Naruto got a couple scrolls from Jiraiya, but not much. They both said their goodbyes to their friends and family, which for Naruto, was everyone who was precious to him. With that, they left the village and didn't look back. This outraged Gamabunta greatly. He swore to Naruto that the Toad clan would always be by his side. He also stated if he ever found another summons, it was all right for them to become their summoners. All he had to do was let them know. Apparently, people have a misunderstanding on summons. You can have more than one, but you need permission from your currents for it. You also have to think of the animal you want to summon during the technique. Otherwise, it would either not work or you would end up with one from your original contract. End of flashback. Now back to the present. Naruto and Hinata head in a random direction. They stop several miles from Konoha. They were at the shore and border of the Fire Country and the Wave Country. They stood in front of the bridge Naruto and Team 7 helped protect and build. The plaque on the bridge read, "The Great Naruto Bridge." There were so many questions ran through his mind. But that, my friends, is for another time. How many years has it been? How many hangovers from the sake she drank to ease her pain? Well, Tsunade asked herself many times. She lost track. The first year was durable. Because of his spy network, Jiraiya was able to find them and help their training. Naruto's apprenticeship was to the Toad Sage, Jiraiya and Hinata's secret apprenticeship was to herself, Konoha's slug princess, Tsunade. She can only hope they are safe. Idiot. Naruto, you brat, Tsunade said out of frustration. Telling us to leave you two alone and you both disappear. She then grabs bottle of sake and chugs it down. You see, Naruto and Hinata have been banished for almost 3 whole years now. No one can find them. Even Jiraiya's spies cannot find any trace of them. During 3 to 4 months of each year for the first 2, Jiraiya was able to train them. Of course, the Konoha Council did not know this. If they did, they would surely have forbidden it without a second hesitation. They are under the impression that he was conducting information gathering from his spy network. Even if they did forbid it, they would still be training them anyway. She remembers that day second only to when she could not stop his banishment, exile. You see, with the help of storage ceiling she could send a shadow clone to look over Hinata's progress. For when a shadow clone is dispelled, all the knowledge of it gained is passed on to the original. Putting the empty sake bottle down, she allows the memory of the last time she saw them to replay in her mind. Flashback. Strangely enough, we find ourselves in the field outside Tazuna town. The same clearing in which the 3 Sannin, Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru fought with their respected summons, Gamabunta, Katsuyu, and Manda. This was the same battle that Naruto used a mastered Rasengan against Kabuto Yakushi and nearly died from Kabuto's strike to his chest. There are dents in boulders and the ground looks as if a ragging battle just ended not so long ago. Dust and other debris from the last explosion, which can only be an overpowered technique, covers the once green-filled field. As it starts to clear, 4 figures come into sight. The 2 farthest back ones are leaning on their knees. By the way, they are moving there breathing heavily. With the field of view clear, we can make out their attire. The farthest one on the right is a young man with blonde, spiky hair and whisker-like cheek markings, wearing a form-fitting orange tracksuit with black extending from around the neck and shoulders, down the front and sleeves. A white swirl on the left side. A red swirl on the back, orange pants, and black sandals. The one next to who can definitely be assumed as male is on the left side, was obviously female, courteously of her sizable bust, feminine face, and long dark blue hair. Her hair, in straight Heim-style haircut, grew down to her waist and had chin-length strands framing her face. She too had cheek markings like the male next to her. She wore a loose-fitting, long-sleeved, lavender and cream zip-up jacket with lavender cuffs over mesh armor with navy blue pants and black, low-heeled sandals. Both of them are wearing outfits that can be regarded as ninja because of the weapon holders and pouches on their thighs and shinobi wear. Standing in front of them are Jiraiya and Tsunade. Unlike the teens that are out of breath, their cloths are only a slightly ragged, covered in a layer of dirt and dust. There was no real change in their outfits. Good work Hinata, Tsunade praised the young woman. You've got it almost mastered. If you combine that with your gentle fist art, you are definitely going to be a one deadly kunoichi one day. Not that you aren't one already, even without using the 9 tails chakra, she stated and smiled at the girl she has been secretly training. Well done brat, Jiraiya told the young man. Now you got 3 tails mastered alongside Hinata. Sealing skills equivalent to mine, mastered your original techniques, the wind release, Rasengan and wind release, Rasen Shuriken, and an almost true master of wind release, he stated with a nod of his head with his hand under his chin. The 2 look at each other and give a fox smile. They turn their attention back to their 2 senseis. Hinata, Naruto. It's time we go, the Tsunade clone said sadly. Even if she is a shadow clone, she has the feelings of the original. Seeing how this saddens the original, it saddens her, we'll see you next year. Standing straight Naruto speaks in a firm voice, Bakken, perverted sage. They both felt tick marks forming on their foreheads by the nicknames he refuses to get rid of. They feel a tug on their hearts. No, this is actually goodbye. What? The 2 masters both yell at their apprentices in unison. By this time, Hinata is next to him as he continued, we need to separate. We have met some people and... He then trails off looking at Hinata for some support. Moreover, he received it as she spoke in his place. And we can't put you in any more danger if the council found out. She then looked back at her husband to see if he is okay. Yes, they are married. While they have been married by Hanju standards since they left the village, They did finally have, even if it was small, a marriage ceremony. For some reason, it was just not feel the same if they did not have a wedding. Sighing in defeat, Tsunade then said, "Well then, we'll seal what is left to teach you in a scroll. I'm sure one of the toads will deliver it to you." Naruto nodded his head in understanding, agreed. "Thanks for everything guys." "Yes, thank you Tsunade-sama," Jiraiya-sama, Hinata thanked with a small formal bow. Yeah, enough with the formalities," Jiraiya said shaking his hand to dismiss the bow. "If this is what you two want then so be it. But, it'll get dull without you thought," he finished before turning around and walking off. Waving behind his back, he takes off running. Tsunade's shadow clone gives the pair a wave before dispelling itself. Neither Jiraiya nor Tsunade noticed that just as they left in the clearing, 6 figures joined the 2 exiled genin. Within moments of the Sannin fading into the distance, Naruto, Hinata, and the newcomers soon used the body flicker technique and disappeared off to an unknown destination. End of flashback. Sigh. But that was a year and a half ago, she said as she puts the half-emptied bottle of sake away. Who knows how far they've advanced. Just then, her old teammate, Jiraiya came in through the door. With seriousness carved on his face, he spoke, "Tsunade, I have good news." Elsewhere, miles away in the newly reconstructed Uzukage no Sato, which is in the reformed Whirlpool country, the first Uzukage sneezes without warning. He was none other than Naruto Uzumaki. Rubbing his nose, he turns to look out the window at his new home, which happens to be the birthplace of his mother, Kushina Uzumaki, and his ancestor of the Uzumaki clan. Kurama told him and Hinata about her after they started rebuilding Uzushio. She told them about what her name was, what she was like, and how she was her previous host before him up until the masked man took control over her, ripped her from her, and was later sealed into Naruto by the 4th Hokage, who he later learned was actually his father. She also told him about the tailed beasts in general and especially that they too have names given to them by the 6-path sage. "Bakken or perverted sage must be talking about me," the blonde Kage said with a chuckle. "Everything all right Uzukage-sama?" his secretary, assistants asked. "Everything is fine, just remembering something on a past that can't be revived," he replied as he turns back around. His eyes opened to reveal cerulean blue eyes. "And I thought I asked you to stop being so formal? Just call me Naruto. I hate formalities," he stated, removing the paperwork from his desk. She looks down, a grin on her face. "But Uzukage-sama, you deserve formalities," she said sweetly to her boss. "You are the last blood member and head of our great Uzumaki, now turned Namikaze Uzumaki clan." At this point, his face turned serious as he stopped her right there. "Now hold your horses. I thought I told you and the council that I will leave that name out of the clan. It's just the Uzumaki clan. Tochin named me Uzumaki, not Namikaze. He wanted me to carry on Kachan's clan, so that's what I'm going to do. Besides, Namikaze is not a clan name. It's just a surname, understood?" "Understood. However, it is your name nonetheless. Anyway, not only that, but you're the Kage, Naruto-sama." She looks at him, meeting his blue eyes with her black eyes. Leaning on the desk to seductively, while also giving a view of her, a sense, she said, "We don't want to show any disrespect, darling." There was lust and seriousness in her eyes as she finished. "Of course you don't, Yugito," he said as he giving her a kiss over his desk. "Now you better go. I have a meeting to get to very soon," he explained as he came around his desk. She then pouted cutely at him. "What, no quickie?" she asked as she gives him the feline version of the puppy dog eyes, which she calls the kitty cat eyes. "No, not this time," he spoke calmly as he looks her up and down and mentally curses the Raikage and Mizukage for this meeting. "As much as I would love to, and you know me, I do babe, I can't now," he said in lovingly tone before wrapping her into a hug. They kissed passionately. Breaking for air she replied, "Fine. However, I will christen this office like our other loves. And for this little incident, I'll tell the others." She smirked, seeing the slight widening of his eyes. Leaning his head up next his ear, she seductively said, "And the 5 of us are going to have a long talk when you get back from this meeting." She then nibbled him on his earlobe, earning a soft moan from her love. After making small circles with her finger on his chest, she leaves. Naruto just shook his head with a smirk. She snickers at the thought of all the fun her and her 3 female mates are going to have with Naruto. Thank God for silencing seals, she thought as she goes to the places the others work. Leaving as well, Naruto cannot help but have mixed feelings about Yugito Ni's earlier statement. One part of him was worried that he will not be able to work in the morning for the early hours. Another part was thinking that no matter how bad this meeting went, he could get rid of some tension by relaxing tonight. The finale part, which we can all guess what it is jumping up and down getting a nosebleed from the thought and implications. Putting on an emotionless neutral face, in hopes to hide his inner conflicts, he continued his journey to the meeting. Curse that perverted toad bastard. He got to me more than I thought, he thought while enjoying the idea of the awaiting talk with his 4 wives. Back in Konoha, a dreadful conversation was ending. It is very likely that what the case, he continued, but that's not all. After handing her a scroll, Tsunade is looking over the scroll handed to her by her perverted teammate. Is this accurate? She asked, putting it down. Yes, my spies in sound assure it, he replied with a grim look on his face. But, it doesn't make sense. Why would the Akatsuki leader be hiding in AIM? She shocked her head and looked at him. Otto, Kusa, and Yuki would be understandable. However, AIM is supposed to be in the midst of a civil war. What the hell happened? All I can find is someone killed the village leader. Hanzo of the Salamander and this missing nin took over, he answered with narrowed eyes. How could that be? Even we, the ones he named Sannin of Konoha, could not defeat him. Could the Akatsuki leader really be this strong? Tsunade asked, folding her hands under her chin. Possibly. But, I can't get any confident answers, he continued, but, that's not all. She narrowed her eyes at him. Tensions are running high among the 5 great shinobi countries. An ambassador has been sent to Kumo and Kiri. If Kumogakure no Sato or Kirigakure no Sato were to join them, then we'll be in more trouble. Tsunade sighed at this news. Things are not looking so good for Konoha. If only Naruto was still here with us. They have close ties with each other. If one of them joins, the other might as well, he finished his report. Great. Now only Kusa seems to be out of it, Tsunade sarcastically said. True, but I think they might join if Kumo backs down the offer, Jiraiya said, barely dodging a chakra-enhanced punch. Well, I'll meet you at the bar in 2 days about the other business. I got a recent update from one of my contacts. See ya. Leaving through the window before she can try to hit him again, he heard her mutter, I hate this job. Now where's my sake? Somewhere in Otto, within Rice Country. In a dark chamber, an angry yell echoes through the room and surrounding hallways. In the room are 4 men standing around a table with a map in the center. This is terrible, the man said on the right. I would be able to get back at and destroy Konoha. This man is in a brown and white cage robes with the earth kanji on it. This old man is the 3rd Uzukage, Onoki aka Onoki of both scales, leader of Iwagakure no Sato. You're right, with our combined forces, Konoha will not fall. A voice from the man across from the Tsuchikage. He, your blood most be boiling, Onoki? Shut your mouth, Chimero. Onoki growled at the man. I agree with you, my friend. Our forces won't be enough to crush Konoha, the man to the right of Onoki said. This man was tall, about 6 feet 9 inches, and had muscle and brainpower to match. The only identification is an auto forehead projector. I took control of my village with 1/4 of their total size. Without Orochimaru-sama, Sasuke Uchiha, and your Jinchuriki, we will surely lose. The man frowned at the man. While he is the new leader of Otogakure no Sato after Orochimaru's death, something about the man bored him. Yes, but what about Suna, Taki, or AIM? The final man in the room asked. This man was average height, about 5 feet 6 inches, and had a very fit body. The only identification is a Kusa forehead projector. No lucky there, Onoki. Suna and Taki are allies with Konoha and refuse to join our cause. And AIM won't let any outsides into their country, anyone, because of their new leader, the auto leader responded with a shake of his head. Onoki was not easily swayed. You auto guys are weak to be afraid of them, he said as an insult. You fool, he yelled, standing up. The cage is part of the group you wishes to attack. Calm down. The brat no longer holds the one-tailed Shukaku, Onoki reassured the man. It is true he no longer has the tailed beast inside him. However, with it gone, he has more control over his sand more than before. They named this Gara Kid cage for a reason. Then you and your men are a pathetic lot, the Tsuchikage insulted the man next to him. What did you say? He yelled back. "Oh, forget it," Chimero muttered as he slammed his hands on the table. The leader of AIM, Hanzo of the Salamander, was going to use old guerrilla warfare, attack, and retreat methods on them. This is all in the hopes of weakening them from going to help Konoha. But with him gone and his country in a civil war, it's hopeless to start a war now. Onoki slouched back into a sitting position, mumbling a curse. His thoughts are silenced by a hopeful voice of this war master planner. "Now the ambassador I have been sent to Kiri and Kumo. If the Uzukage or Reikage takes up our offer, then it's presumable that the other of the two will as well, from close connections. It's possible that their latest ally of a new unknown and powerful hidden shinobi village might join in as well." Using the map on the table, the auto leader explained an attack possibility. "If that becomes the scenario, then we can surround them from all sides. And no matter how much help they get, we can crush Konoha and its allies." The door then flew open and an auto nin kneeled before his leader, Chimero-sama. The ambassador I have been sent to Kiri has failed. Kiri refuses to join our cause as well. Looking at Onoki, he sighed and said to the group, "Looks like it is hopeless now. I may be a cage-level shinobi, but I am nowhere near your levels of strength. Even we together equal 2 cage-level shinobi, but that wouldn't be enough to crush Konoha and its allies. Until we heard from Hanzo, AIM's new leader, or learn the identity of Kiri and Kumo's new ally, this war won't ever happen, as it would be suicide. For now, this meeting is adjourned." Time skipped 2 days later in Konoha. "So that is the synapse of your mission," Tsunade said to the team of ninja in front of her. This team consists of Kurenai, Mighty Guy, Rock Lee, Kiba and Akamaru, Shino, and Tenten. Each member has grown and improved since Naruto and Hinata's banishment from Konoha. Guy and Lee wore a green jumpsuit, orange striped leg warmers, and the standard Konoha flak jacket. Their forehead protectors are on a red cloth and are worn around their waist, like a belt. Kurenai wore makeup consisting of red lipstick and purple eyeshadow. Her regular outfit consists of a red mesh armor blouse with only the right sleeve visible. Over this is very broad material, which resembles bandages with a pattern on it, similar to those of rose thorns. Her hands and upper thighs are also wrapped in bandages, and she wears the Konoha forehead protector and regular shinobi sandals. Kiba's appearance changed over the course of 3 years. Now each piece of his outfit, including his forehead protector, switched to a black color, with his coat being replaced by what looks like a nowadays leather form-fitting black jacket, with zips over the chest and sleeves, along with black pants and sandals, also zipped, matching the jacket. Akamaru has grown to the size of bull, literally. No more is he the small puppy that would sit on Kiba's head. Now it is the other way around. Kiba sits on Akamaru's back. Shino's appearance became even more mysterious, with his jacket hanging down to his knees and the addition of a hood that obstructs his face even more and a satchel on his back. This current appearance makes it harder for people to recognize him right away. Tenten's outfit undergoes several changes. She now sports a long-sleeved white blouse with a high collar and red fastener and edges paired with similarly colored, puffy pants that look like a hakama, with the exposed parts of her legs near the waist covered in bandages. The shuriken holster and the bandage on her right leg is removed, and she wears brown fingerless gloves, with her forehead protector having switched to the same color and her shinobi sandals having been replaced by black, open-toed sandals with low heels, and the shoes extend to the lower ankles. Everything is still a reference to the Chinese culture. She holds a giant tool summoning scroll on her back that she uses when fighting. "So, we're going to find out if Kumo and Kiri are going to join Otto and Iwa in this war?" asked Tenten. "Yes," Tsunade answers with a nod before turning the Mighty Guy. "You will take Lee and Tenten to Kumo." Turning her gaze to Kurenai, she continued, "Kurenai, Shino, and Kiba will go to Kiri. Care to explain the reason behind the split in teams, Hokage-sama?" Shino asked, who was the most observant of Team Kurenai. "Very well, as you all know, Kiri has been in a state of civil war for decades now. At least it should be. They have had little to no experience with the other lands. Therefore, unlike Kumo, they will most likely not be suspecting you. But it does not mean you don't disguise yourselves. While on the other hand, Kumo could find about us and the team, as there is a need for power and speed." Tenten finished getting the idea. "Correct. Team Kurenai is specialized in tracking and infiltration. Add in the factors of extra time one gets by placing genjutsu over the enemy or terrain. Shino's bugs have the ability to drain their target's chakra. Kiba's enhanced senses and they can perform excellent escape plans, Tsunade added. Understood. Let our YOUTHFULLNESS guide us to success. Guy shouted with fire in his eyes as he pumped his arm into the air. Yes, Guy-sensei. With our youth we shall not fail. Lee exclaimed loudly, and if we fail, I'll run 500 laps around the village. Their youth nonsense goes on longer until it's stopped by Tsunade. With the mission briefing finished, the two teams head out. Team Kurenai has just left the village almost 2 hours after the briefing. Just enough time to pack what they would need for what is sure to be a long mission. It will take them at least 2 days before they reach the border to take their boat to the land of waves. 1 day for the boat to get to the island, and another 2 days to get to the village. Kiba had to say goodbye to his girlfriend who is a civilian of Konoha. However, do not let that fool you. According to stories around Konoha, she can get violent when angered. From the bruises on Kiba's face, it is good to assume those rumors are true. Kurenai-sensei, how are we going about this? Kiba asks, rubbing his bruised cheek, while riding on top of his faithful companion, Akamaru. I thought I told you we are equal Jonin now. There is no need to call me sensei, she said, ignoring his question. She turns her head to look at him and smirks. Well, it looks as if someone will be sleeping on the couch when we get back, she teased. Pushing up his sunglasses, Shino decided to speak for his teammate. Yes. Well, it seems he said and forgot something important when he went home and packed. At least, that is the impression I got when I arrived to meet him and almost got hit with a pot in the head. Apparently, it was not to back him up. Kiba just glares at the bugman. With a gruff, he crosses his arms over his chest. His most trusted companion gives him a couple of barks. He also gives him what can be assumed as a dog's way of snickering. Shut up. You always side with her, he accused his partner angrily. Besides, whose side are you on anyway? Bark. Akamaru replied. Figures, Kiba muttered under his breath. Shino and Kurenai's sweat dropped at the argument between a man and his dog. Anyway, back to the main subject, Shino said, getting Kiba out of his current state of argument with his dog. To us, you'll always be our sensei. Sighing in defeat, Kurenai decided to talk about how they are going to get into Kiri. First we'll have to get to the border and find a ferry to take us to water country. But before we get on the ship we disguise ourselves, she replied, as if it is command sense, which it is. Then we'll see if we can get any information from frequent passengers. Then we'll travel on foot the rest of the way to the village. Once inside, I'll find a place to stay at while you two do a little recon, she told them. So, this will be a long mission in a way, Shino stated in a question manner. What about Team Guy? From the aspects of the mission, it'll take them just as long to get to Kumo, as it'll take us to get to Kiri. Kiba and Shino nodded their heads at this. With a plan decided, the remains of Team 8 go on with their assignment. Without thinking of the current factors of the unknown, they believe to think of an easy journey awaits them. However, they have no idea what they are truly up to. Inside the Uzukage's office. So, the tension of war has finally reached Konoha again, Naruto stated with a sigh to the two other Kage in the room. The one on the right is sitting behind a desk. She lacks the traditional Kage Haori. However, she wears the customary hat with the deep blue kanji for water on it. This identifies her as the 5th Uzukage, Maid Terumi, leader of Kirigakure no Sato. She is a slender, busty woman in her 30s. She has green eyes and ankle-length, auburn hair styled into a herringbone pattern at the back, a top knot tied with a dark blue band, and with 4 bangs at the front. 2 bangs are short, with one covering her right eye, and 2 are long, crossing each other on her bust, just below her chin. She wore a long-sleeved, dark blue dress that falls just below the knees. It seems to be closed at the front with a zip, and is kept open on the front right side from the waist down. The dress only covers up to the upper part of her arms and the underside of her. Underneath, she wears a mesh shirt that covers more of her upper body than her dress, but stops short of covering her shoulders and still leaves a sizable cleavage. She also wears a skirt in the same color as her dress and, underneath those, mesh leggings reaching down over her knees. Around her waist, she wears a belt with a pouch attached to the back on the left along with high-heeled sandals and shin guards reaching up over her knees. dark blue polish on her fingers and toes, and is usually shown with fuchsia lipstick. The one standing next to the Uzukage, unlike her, he does wear the traditional Kage Haori but without the gown. He also wears the customary hat with the yellow kanji for lightning on it. He is the fourth Raikage, leader of Kumogakure no Sato. He is a tall, dark-skinned man with a large muscular build, with his blonde hair combed back, black eyes, and a small mustache and beard. His face is very distinguished with pronounced cheekbones and teared troughs under his eyes, and a prominent crease across his forehead. He has pointed canines and his top lip also has a darker hue than the bottom one, traits he inherited from his father, the third Raikage. He has black Fuma shuriken tattoos on both shoulders. Unlike other Kage, he wears his Kage Haori and hat on a regular basis without a shirt underneath, displaying his hulking physique, black pants, and a green kilt that goes down to under the knees. He had gold bangle bracelets on each wrist, which have protrusions that can jut out when he attacks. He also wears a gold belt around his waist with a boar's face engraved in the center. Uzukage, Mei started the conversation. We know you well and how you are. She then trailed off and looked to A for some support on this matter. We want to make sure you're fine about this, A said, quickly continuing for the Uzukage. There are still people that live in Konoha that you care about, right? We wish to know your intentions on this matter, Uzukage. You've done so much for both Kumo and Kiri that we owe you so much, Naruto-kun. Are you sure there is not anything we can do for you? The Uzukage asked with a kind and gentle voice. Naruto sat down in the chair near the wall. Sigh, I'll be fine. Thanks for the offer through, Mei. He places his hand on his forehead, like to take one's temperature. If Konoha somehow survives, I'll see if I can save my loyal friends. This is Konoha's problem, not Uzushio's or any of your villages. A nodded with a smirk. You have the right attitude of a Kage. Looking serious, he asked the dreadful question the two Kage were hoping to avoid. How did you find out about the possible war? The Raikage stepped forward to answer. As you well know, Orochimaru and his Sound Army are the ones who organized this war. With Orochimaru dead and Sasuke Uchiha off on his own, Otto and Iwa need more power. He too takes a seat from one of the chairs in the room and continued. They sent an ambassador to Kumo and Kiri a couple of days ago asking for our assistance. Believing that by recruiting one of us, he could get both of us to join in as well. But you declined? The blonde Kage asked. Of course we did, he roared, and Mei just nodded with a smile. At first, that fool he thought I was playing hardball. He even went as far as to say we could obtain the Byakugan if we helped. Ha, yeah right, as if we would stoop that low. His black eyes stand still with Naruto's blue ones. They even say we could get help in reforming the 7 ninja swordsmen if Kiri helped, Mei stated with annoyance. I know we did in the past, but things were different. The man of steel shows sadness and regret within his eyes despite being against such things. And again, I express my deepest apologizes. Naruto then waves it off. It is okay, Raikage. What is in the past stays in the past, right? Besides, I'm not with Konoha anymore, so it shouldn't matter. Thought I couldn't save the 3 tails, Shukaku, or Utakata, and the 6 tails. I was able to get Gaara revived as well as save Yugito and the Taki Jinchuriki. Fu from Akatsuki, who both are now my wives, Naruto said before smirking as he then said, anyways, how is Killer Bee doing? Since he became an ally of Kiri and especially Kumo, he was able to learn how to control Kurama's power completely. After saving her for Hidan and Kakuzu, Fu was able to do the same with her tailed beast, the 7-tailed rhinoceros beetle, or as he was called, Chome. Surprisingly, when opened the seal to fight Kurama, his father, Minato Namikaze, appeared. When he was slowly losing to Kurama's hatred, his mother, Kushina Uzumaki, appeared to help him. Minato explained to Kushina what he saw throughout their son's life. However, Naruto said it was okay because he is happy now. Kushina was overjoyed when he told them that he rebuilt Uzushio and was reviving the Uzumaki clan. They both that explained what happened 16 years. And with their help, he defeated Kurama and took her most of her chakra for a while. Before they faded into the afterlife, he said he was glad to be their son and promised to make them proud. Minato just gave him a thumb up. Kushina, however, ran up to him and hugged, saying, "Thank you." After his training was complete, he then told everyone all about it. Now if only he can tell Tsunade Bakken and perverted sage about it. A then closed his eyes and smiled with a tick mark on the man's face. He is just as much of a pain as usual, even without Yugito around. Naruto laughed heartily at his answer. At least you have a brother that loves you. I could have saved mine, but I didn't know Sasuke once again abandoned Konoha. A hated and hardened look took over the blonde Jinchuriki's eyes. If it wasn't for the fact we have been hiding our true abilities of our villages and our alliance, I could have done more. That bastard will pay the next time we meet in battle if push comes to shove, Naruto stated with confidence with a raised fist. Yes, and with the spy I have within Konoha, I'll end this meeting with a handful of knowledge, stated with a smirk. At this, both Naruto and the Mei have their eyes widen in surprise. The Uzukage gets back into the conversation and asked, "What did you find out?" Apparently, Sasuke had a team sent after him to bring him back to Konoha. One of the teammates was assigned to assassinate him, the others rubbed their chins at this. Noticing their looks, he continued, he is under a special Enbu division called Root. This division is under the control of the elder, Danzo Shimura. I see. Naruto-kun, have you heard of him? The Uzukage asked. Yes, he is one of the people that had me banished. Naruto then goes on with his thoughts, and then I guess that could mean that this man has connections with Orochimaru. He gives off a slight chuckle as he continued, and it seems Sasuke got the training he wanted after all. Knowing him, he is most likely going after Itachi. They stay there silently digesting what has been said so far. After a few minutes, they pick off on where they left off on the conflict. As much as I hate to be the bringer of the bad news, that isn't the only reason Kumo denied their offer. Now it is time for Green Eyes to meet Blue. What do you mean, Uzukage? Naruto asked looking at the Uzukage. Suna, is all Mei said. I see, Naruto said with a nod. That is all he needed to hear. Naruto-kun, I owe no Kiri owes you. If it wasn't for the fact Uzushio was being rebuilt and the people wanted the last known member of their honorable clan as their Kage, the people of Kiri would have had you become Uzukage, Mei stated with a sad smile. And take it from you, Mei? Humph, I do not think so. You deserve the seat, Mei. Naruto said to Mei with confidence. Well, she has a point, Naruto, stated as he joined the conversation with a smirk. Not only did you bring back the 7 ninja swordsmen of Kiri, you brought back pride to a nation in civil war and gave end to the tyranny of the 4th Uzukage. Naruto just shrugs his shoulders. Mei has been loyal to Kiri after the 4th's death for years. She was the most logical choice. He then smirked at Mei, who stared back in confusion, but it did take until I took you out on a date to convince you to take the job and to stop you from being so flirtatious all the time around me. Said woman's face turned deep red and yelled while she crossed her arm under her sizable bust with a pout, hey. What happened to leaving things in the past, Naruto-kun? The other Kage shared a quick hearty laugh at her response. Anyway, back onto subject. What will you do now? The Uzukage asked after clearing her throat. I think I'll meet the swordsman at the bar and stay another night in the hotel before heading home, he replied as he stood up. But then it'll take another 2 days to get back to Whirlpool. The Raikage then got a strange look in his eyes. Something happened before you came here, right? Naruto flushed at the question, remembering what awaits him back at home. Not wanting to answer, he left. Due to enhanced senses, he could hear the whispers of the others while he left. Guess you hit the mark, eh? Yeah, wonder what Yugito has in store for him as punishment this time? Naruto shook his head as the sound of their laughter diminishes in the distance. In a local bar in Kiri, there is a table filled with 7 of 8 of the most dangerous ninja in all of the Kiri forces. It is a square table, with 3 on each side and 1 at the end. These ninja are the current 7 ninja swordsmen of Kiri, the deadliest swordsmen in the world. At the end is second in command, Sentaro Ishigochi. He is a blonde-haired man of 6 feet 2 feet. His dark gray eyes have a glazed-over look from too many drinks. He is the wielder of the Shibuki, aka the blast sword. To his right starts the line of the only 2 female members, one of which has a twin brother next to her. She too is a blonde, with emerald eyes at a total height of 5 feet 9 feet. Her name was Kagura Enkai. The one thing most will say about her that is the most noticeable things about her is her attitude. One that can pair with a snake kunoichi from Konoha. Her bloodlust in battle is to be feared. While she can dress appropriately, she tends to lean towards the more skin approach at times. She wields Kabutowari, aka the blunt sword. Next to her is the only other female swordsman, Sayuri Yuki, one of 3 last known living members of Kiri's Yuki clan along with her cousin, Kimiko and her twin brother. At first glanced one would say she is 5 feet 6 feet of pure beauty, with her flowing black hair and deep blue eyes. Just do not let it distract you on the battlefield, or anywhere really. For if you get on her bad side, she will strike with her speed and with her sword, it makes her a worthy adversary. She is the wielder of Nuabari, aka the longsword. Her twin brother Sansei Yuki is sitting next to her laughing at her current days of the recent joke about her. He makes women weak in the knees. Black hair and gorgeous green eyes, which make it that without the certain differences between the two you would never know the difference. To see him out in a club with the rest of the group is not a surprise, for if he did not he would not do anything but work. However, he seems to not to be in any better condition as the others. He is the wielder of the Kiba, aka the thunder swords. Across from Sansei is 6 feet Shin Momochi, younger brother to Zabuza Momochi. He had dark brown hair and cobalt eyes, with an outfit similar to his older brother. He is practically his brother's replica, master of the silent killing, extraordinary swordsmanship, and water release specialist. He is the holder of Zabuza's sword, the Kabikirabocho, aka the Sever Sword, which was brought back from Zabuza's gravesite in Wave. To the right of Shin is Suigetsu Hazuka, the brother of Kiri's Mangetsu Hazuka, leader of the new 7 ninja swordsmen of Kiri, and reputed along with Shin as the second coming of the demon. While him and his clan has a bloodline, at use of water release nature manipulation and can use his clan's main secret technique to liquefy his body at will, they were also known as excellent assassins. In ways, he is like his late older brother. At a height of 5 feet 8, he had straight white hair with a light blue tint to it, purple eyes and like all members of the 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist pointed teeth, one of which sticks out even with his mouth closed. He was rescued by chance when Naruto stumbled across the hideout that held him. After releasing him, Naruto asked if he wanted to help bring back the 7 ninja swordsmen. We accepted in a heartbeat. While he tried each one of the swords with the exception of the Samahata, aka the Great Sword, which was still in the possession of Kisame Hoshigaki, he chose to become the wielder of when he gets it. For now, he wields a massive Zanbato sword until then. Now, to his right is the newest member of the 7 ninja swordsmen, Chojuro. Sitting there, he quietly enjoying the get-together at around 5 feet 4 feet with short, tufty blue hair and dark eyes. He wears square, black-rimmed glasses connected to ear protectors, a blue pinstriped shirt and camouflage pattern pants. In addition, he wears his forehead protector on the front of his holster, which he uses to carry Haramekure, aka the twin swords. None of them is carrying their swords with them, so with their outfits they look like any other ninja, except the little difference. Strange how so many ninja from a village will wear the same outfit, with little, if any, small changes, except those who go with their own taste. This was just one of the many of the unexplained neutralities of the shinobi world and their behavior. Ha ha ha, Kagura, you didn't? Suigetsu asked her, laughing at her story. Fu, I'm serious, he went all shades of red, she said chugging another shot of sake. If it wasn't for the brat's healing ability, he would have died of blood lost. Sipping from his saucer cup, Shin decides to add his 2 cents. To think Naruto-sama would get a nosebleed from such an immature action. The others look at him with confused looks. Care to explain, Shin? Sansei asked, curious what his friend has to say. What most did not know is that Suigetsu and Shin is very observant people, so his curiosity was piqued with Shin's statement. Shin just sips more of his sake and stated, I'm surprised you didn't notice it, Sansei. He looks at the others there. He was married to Hinata-sama for what? 2 maybe 3 years before he meet the two of you. He asks, getting a shrug from Kagura, surely they consummated the wedding before that. In addition, he had the perverted Sanin, Jiraiya for a sensei. It would only be logical that he had a less perverted reaction. Chojuro started to nod his head. I see. Hinata-sama has said that she would and does whatever it takes to show her love. Both swordsmen then get a lecherous look on their faces. Surely he has made an anti-pervert tolerance of some sort. I mean, if you combine his shadow clone technique with his Y technique, well, I think you get the point. You know, at this point, you can tell our friend here has had a little too much to drink, as some of the males wiped their faces of their fresh nosebleed. If it was me, I probably would have stripped to join the two of you, he mumbled under his breath, but not as low as he thought. For some members of the group paled at what he just said. He looked up and noticed the glare at him from both female members and the leader. Uh-oh. Did I say that out loud? The two females face plant into the floor of the bar, while the leader just sweat dropped. Everyone else is laughing their asses off at his comment. After they settled down, they continued with their stories and having their weight in sake, much to the pleasure of the bar owner. Too bad Chojuro does not say anything else. He is just so shy and timid about talking with others. It would be nice if he had something to say, Sentaro thought, reaching for another bottle of sake. The next few minutes are spent of berating Sansei for his earlier comments. After a couple minutes of that, they go back to talking and joke-telling. They are so caught up with their conversation that they don't sense who is about to walk into the place. The bell above the door rings to signify a new costumer. "Hello, what can we do for?" the bartender said in shock. "Uzukage-sama? Whatever can we do for you?" Hearing this, almost everyone in the proximity stopped and turned around to see the Uzukage in the flesh. Sansei, having the best view, looked at the door. Standing there, still in his cage haori, was Naruto looking around the bar. Both Sansei and Suigetsu waved him over. "Hey, Naruto, we're over here," Suigetsu yelled as he tried to make sure he gets his attention. Turning to where he heard his name, he sees his friends. Putting on a smile, he waves back. Telling the barkeep he will be joining them, he makes his way over. "Hey guys, long time no see," he said, sitting at the other end, sit across from Sentaro. "So, what you guys talking about?" he asked as he took a seat. "Oh, nothing really. Just about the time you came across Kagura and Hinata-sama in their birthday suits at the hot springs," Sayuri said in a sweet, teasing voice. Immediately remembering that time, he had to fight a blush that was coming. Moreover, he lost that battle. "I have no idea what you're talking about," he blurted out, trying to be innocent, with the key word being, trying. Everyone had a laugh, now at his expense. "Ha ha ha, we're just messing around, man. Lighten up, will ya?" Shin said after he stops laughing. "Give me a minute," Naruto said, turning around. "Hey, bartender. Get a couple bottles of sake over here." In no more than a minute, a waiter came by with 2 new bottles of their best sake. "Anything else, Uzukage-sama?" he asked with a slight bow. "No, just make sure it goes on my bill and not theirs," he said, filling a saucer plate with his drink. As the waiter starts to leave, he yelled out to everyone, "Oh, and lighten up, guys. Stop with all the unneeded formality." With a nod from everyone, the waiter left to see to other customers scattered at the tables he is in charge of. Pouring another glass, Naruto looks up at his company with a grin. "This should loosen me up." "So Naruto, how is Uzushio?" Chojuro asked. "Fine. The rebuilding was ahead of schedule. We now have all the sections that we had before," he added with a smirk. "And with the original blueprints and a little help from some old friends, I can officially say Uzushio is now standing at 150%. They all smile at their friend. "That's good," Sansei said, "so it's as if Uzushio's destruction never happened. Profit is good and stable, I hope." "Correct," Naruto answered before taking another sip. "Good. Now when are you and the missus going to have a kid?" "Kagura is getting impatient for a little godson or goddaughter to hang out with," Suigetsu stated. Hearing this, Naruto does a spit take. Luckily, everyone within range ducked out of the way of the blast. With slightly heavy breathing, the blonde-haired man looked at the man. Unable to speak, Kagura decides to state her mind. I mean, come on, when the fuck are you and Hinata going to pop one out already?" She practically yelled in frustration. "You've already promised me the position of godmother for your firstborn. When the hell we make that deal?" Naruto asked, confused. "I don't even remember making such a deal." Kagura smirked and stated to him, "Well, it was more along the lines of Hinata promising me after I didn't beat you up after getting a look at me." "Well, that answers that question," he thought with annoyance. "Plus, I thought you liked me?" she said in a hurt voice, and watery eyes formed. "Now hold on there," he said, waving his hands in front of himself. "I never said I didn't like you. I think you'll be a great godmother for mine and Hinata's firstborn," he said, trying to cheer her up. And as if he said the magic word, she was then feeling all better. "Why thank you. I'll be glad to be the godmother of your firstborn, Kagura said with a smirk. Ha, sucker. Well, that's good and all, but what about Yugito-sama and Kimiko-sama? How are you three getting along? Sentaro asked with a serious stare. And don't forget that girl, Fu from Taki, Suigetsu stated with a smirk. Fine. My wives and I are fine, Naruto answered with a glint in his eyes. I've seen that look before, Sayuri said worried. What's wrong? Oh, nothing, Naruto dismissed. I was just remembering how everyone reacted when it all started. Everyone mumbled after that, remembering the pain, more like drama that had happened early 1 year ago. Flashback, 6 months after rescuing Fu at the end of the Konohasuna Chunin exams. Naruto, the 7 swordsmen, Hinata, Yugito, Fu, and Kimiko are gathered in the Uzushio Council chambers with the Council of Uzushio, Kumo, and Kiri along with Mei and next to their respectful council. Yugito stands there with a sense of anger. She had long, straight, blonde hair bound with taut bandages and dark eyes. She wore a short-sleeved black and purple blouse, black pants both of which had a design similar to clouds on them, purple fingerless gloves and a chain of white beads wound around her left hand. She also wore the standard Kumo forehead protector, sandals and kunai holster that was strapped to her right thigh. She also wore bandages around her arms and legs as well as a red belt around her waist. Her arms cross across her chest. She is fidgeting with the wrapping around her hands to elbows. Fu, Naruto's second wife, was on Naruto and Hinata's right. She wore an orange clip in her short, spiky mint green hair that matched her eye color, which was also orange. Her skin was light brown or caramel in color. Her ninja outfit consisted of a short sleeveless white midriff shirt with fishnet armor underneath, long white armlets, and fishnet shorts with a short white apron skirt over it, similar to that of Sakura's. Her forehead protector, which now has the Uzushio swirl, is worn on her right arm. Fu also carried a cylindrical object in red wrapping on her back with the purpose of holding her insects that she can use like the Aburame clan. Naruto and Hinata were on Yugito's right. His outfit has not changed much since he and Hinata left Jiraiya and Tsunade except for the customary hat with the cerulean kanji for Whirlpool on it and cloak over a full-length gown that he wore over normal attire, along with a long black bandana with an Uzushio forehead protector attached to it. They have the Uzushio swirl in the dead center of the back, taking up a good portion of the mid-back. Besides the symbol on the back of her jacket and an Uzushio forehead protector with a blue cloth around her neck, Hinata's outfit remained the same. A girl with light brown colored hair is to their right is standing with an emotionless look. Her chocolate brown eyes however gave away only a little disappointment. A green blank-like scarf wrapped around her neck. She wears a gray short-sleeve shirt with a black slash in order to hold her sword on her back dangly. Her pants consist of a matching gray shinobi-class pants. The swordsmen are shattered behind Naruto and others. The councils are members of powerful clans and important figureheads. However, within the Uzushio Council is a familiar old man. It just happens to be Tazuna, just as old as ever. Now that everyone is here we can start this meeting, A said as he stood up. We'll leave the first priority to the Uzushio Council. He makes a hand gesture to the small group of 5 in between the 2 semi-larger groups. Thank you Raikage-sama, the eldest-looking man said. Naruto Uzumaki, as you know, you're the last of the Uzumaki clan that once resided in Whirlpool before its downfall. Naruto nodded to the statement. With the help from Kumo and Kiri, thanks to you, we now have the village up and running again. At this point another member, this one female, continued, the people and every member of this council have decided. We want you to become our first Uzukage. Naruto's eyes widen, along with some others in the room. Hinata just looked at him with an overjoyed smile. I don't know what to say. That is all he is able to say. Yes, I'll take the job. Would suffice brat, Tazuna said with a sneer. Tazuna-san please, one of the council members said. Please what? He asked as he looked at the others. We go a long way back to when he was just a shrimp-sized brat. A laugh brings them out of their quarrel of sorts. Yeah, well you're still the old drunk that keeps getting bigger around the middle. Naruto fired back at the man after he stopped his laughing. Yugito laughed at that, while Kimiko and a couple of the swordsmen snickered. Even Hinata giggled a bit herself. Oh Naruto-kun, show some respect for the old man, she told him gently, much to the amusement to the others. Ha ha ha. Well, I think this took a little side trip, Mei said, trying to regaining control of the meeting. I believe you to be right, Mizukage-sama, the same elder that started the meeting off stated. Now Naruto-sama, do you accept the position? If it's what the village wants, then I'd be happy to accept the position of Uzukage, he said with all seriousness. Good. Now with that, we will explain how the council in Uzushio works. First, unlike in other villages, we hold practically no power whatsoever. You hold the main power. Seeing how our daimyo left, Whirlpool and Uzushio were only able to rebuild thanks to Kumo and Kiri. It was only recently that the daimyo of Wave has agreed to have their youngest heir become our new daimyo. He will do just fine and bring a new age to Whirlpool. Third, like most hidden villages, only the top jonin of our people that the village can agree and trust may be on it. While you are a clan leader, you cannot have a saying in a matter. So you're going to have your wife or heir when old enough take the seat and not hold any biased decisions, he finished, taking a breath from his long explanation. Understood. Now what else does that mean if I have all the power? Naruto asked with a raised eyebrow. One thing he learned is to be cautious with politics over the years. Tazuna-san, can take the rest from here? He asked as he glanced at Tazuna. Glaring at the man, Tazuna then turned to Naruto and spoke, well kid, it means you don't have to really concern the council at all. Sigh, the only real reason it exists in our case is to give advice on certain affairs and help with the civilian things that don't concern you. Taking a deep breath he thought, I am getting too old for these speeches. And we report things to you. That is all, Tazuna finished. The only reason we have power now is because of you being a Kage, no less. Good to know, Naruto said clearly and thought. That's good, well for him, Yugito said frustrated, but then why the fuck am I here then? Wincing from her loudness, the Kumo and Kiri councils look at their Kage. With nods from the councils, they know what to do. The Raikage steps forward to speak. Silence, Yugito, we're just getting to that. He yelled as he didn't want to deal with her yelling today. While she didn't like it, she stepped back, but then looked towards Mei. Now, after a nod, the Mizukage steps forward. Kimiko, the girl with the tan color hair, bows. Yes, Mizukage-sama? I bet you are wondering the same thing as Yugito-sama? She asked. Yes, Mizukage-sama, she answered politely. You, my dear, are here for the same reason as her, she said, pointing to Yugito. But the answer you seek will be given by the councils, the Raikage interrupted. The ones that have nothing to worry about, the center group, just shrugs their shoulders and whistles. On the other hand, the other councils pale a little for what might happen, the Kumo members more than Kiri. Gulp. As you both know, Kumo, Kiri now shares an alliance with Uzushio, a man said from the Kumo side. It's only there for their protection during rebuilding, one from the Kiri side started. But now both Kiri and Kumo wish for a more permanent alliance. And that deals with us how? Yugito asks, eyebrow raised and losing to her temper. Why'd I not like the direction this is going? The same Kiri member mumbles something in a whisper. Apologizes, elder, but I couldn't hear that, Kimiko stated, dangerously, already getting her sword ready. Kagura turned and whispered into Sentaro's ear. I think they called us to clean up the bodies. He just nodded his head, seems that way. Suigetsu smirked as he looked at his fellow teammates. Okay, who wants to bet on who is going to die here today? All but he and Shin face faulted to the ground from that question. Shin shook his head at his fellow swordsman's actions. I think they are scared shitless and want our protection from those two, Shin stated in a matter-of-fact kind of way. Really? I had no idea, Sayuri replied sarcastically. They're not getting any help from me, Sentaro said to their surprise. I'm no fool. I stand no chance against two enraged Jinchuriki. And if they are heading in the direction I believe they are, I'm not going to face Hinata-sama's wrath of non-gentle fists again, he explained. Sansei paled, remembering the time he and Sentaro angered Hinata. Not gentle at all, he thought as he remembers taking a gentle fist strike to the crotch. She rarely ever gets pissed off, but when she is, she can be quite brutal and ruthless. This is getting more unexpected with every second. The new blonde Kage thought, seeing the reason for the meeting unfold before his very eyes. An arranged married, he mumbled much clearer than the first time. Still can't hear you, Counselor-san, Kimiko said a little too sweetly. Oh, for the love of God, you guys are truly pathetic. A new member of the Kumo Council yelled. You two are arranged to marry Naruto-sama to issue a peaceful and secure alliance between the three hidden villages. What? The unison cry of the four women was near said blonde-haired Kage. I don't think that's too much to ask. You five get along fine, the same elder replied. Naruto is just standing there frozen solid. He just blinked in surprise. I think I am going to go crazy, he thought as his mind was in a knot. In the back of his mind, he can hear Kurama laughing her furry ass off. Damn Naruto. 4 wives, ha ha ha. That is more than some humans in Hanju can handle. Ha 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 ha. The great nine-tailed beast said in between burst of laughter, ha ha ha. I wonder what Matabi and Chome thinks about this. However, Naruto never got the chance to give a mental response to the teasing multi-tailed vixen. For the screaming protest of one, Yugito ni was blocking his thoughts. Damn you. When? How? Why? She managed to say before turning her sights on Naruto, I'm gonna kill you. Now, calm down Yugito, he said calmly to his shinobi in hopes of preventing her from doing something stupid. We thought you would understand, Mei said to the furious Kunoichi. Kimiko, she started but was unable to finish as Kimiko took action. Kimiko just walked over to the still stunned Naruto. Unfortunately, she is shorter than he was by a few inches, so she grabbed his head and leans on her toes. She then pulled him to her lips, forcing him into a kiss. All commotion stops at the scene. Naruto goes extreme wide-eyed and blinks a million times. Jaws hit the floor. How long until they need air? Holy shit, was that tongue? These were the thoughts of some of the occupants in the room. Others just are too stunned to think of anything. Hinata and Fu balled their hands into tight fists and growled to themselves. Fu did more so than Hinata. I will get that bitch, I will get that bitch SSU. Yugito just looks on mouth slightly open. Damn. I know he is good looking and all, but maybe, Hinata and Fu wouldn't mind sharing. Seems Kimiko doesn't. What's wrong, Yugito-chan? Upset you didn't think of that? This came from the feline voice of Matabi, the two-tailed monster cat, sealed in Yugito. Shut up. How long has it been? 5 minutes. She thought to her tailed beast. Unknown to her, Hinata was having a similar conversation with Kurama. Although, Kurama and Chome were trying to calm down Hinata and Fu and explain things. But Hinata mentally whined, don't worry Hinata, just talk with them after this is over. Took them long enough, it looks like they're stopping, Kurama said to her Jinchuriki's soulmate. Chome SSU. Fu whined to her tailed beast who then replied, relax Fu. I am sure you and Hinata can work something out. With that, the mental talk stopped. At some point in the long kiss, Naruto closed his eyes. That was his second Kimiko. His first was not pulling away from her when she went to kiss him. Separating her lips from his, Kimiko opens her eyes with a smile. Pleasure to serve you Naruto-kun, she said sweetly. That was the last straw for the others. Alright, that's it, let me at her. Yugito and Fu screamed while Fu added, SSU, to the end of each sentence. For at that second, they all jumped the girl and a fight broke out. Wow, Naruto said as his brain comes back to life. Too bad for him that the girls fighting heard him and stopped their rumble. They turned their heads slowly and looked at him scarily with pissed-off looks that would make Sakura's pale in comparison, and one thing escaped their mouths. You're dead. You're dead SSU. End of flashback. Shivering from the past, Naruto takes a long shot of what is left from his sake bottle, still have scars from that day. The color to some of the male members of the group returns to their faces, feeling some pity for their old friend. They too have some unwelcome reminders of that fateful meeting. At least it worked out. Who would have thought that they just needed to talk it out? Shin said. Naruto nodded in agreement. True, but enough about me. What have you guys been up to? Next morning, near the outskirts of Kiri. Thank God alcohol doesn't affect me that much. Naruto exclaimed, seeing the hangover looks of the ones he hung out with last night. Kurama, if there was anything to thank you for it would be that. He thought to the fox in his head. Why thank you Naruto? The voice of the tailed vixen came. Should I tell Hinata you're on your way home? Naruto could tell that by the way she said that something is up. Why do I not like the way that she said that? He thought just to hear her laugh. Hey, Earth to Naruto, Kagura waves her hand in front of him. Anyone home? Hey, are you listening to me? She screamed right in his face. Shaking his head, he answered back. Oh, Kagura, sorry about that, he said, rubbing the back of his head sheepishly. You got to warn us when you talk to the Nine Tails. She then gets a devious grin on her face. Or was it Hinata-chan? Whatever, he muttered, heading towards the main road out of Kiri. Guess I'll head back now, he said, waving to them over his shoulders. Biting his thumb to draw some blood, he goes through the hand seals: boar, dog, bird, monkey, and ram. Summoning technique, he shouted, slamming his hand with blood on the tips of his fingers to the concrete. A giant puff of smoke emerged. Out of the smoke as a giant orange toad appeared. This toad could rival a 4-story building. Yo Naruto, what's up? The toad asked with smile. Not much. Mind giving me a ride back to Uzushio, Gamakichi? Naruto asked with grin. Gamakichi frowned at that. Still don't get it, do you? Gamakichi sighed before he explained again. We toads don't like salt water. We love the fact you made those fresh water lakes on your clan estates, but Naruto, we hate seawater. Naruto just scratches the back of his head sheepishly. Right. Guess I forgot about that, Gamakichi. Gamakichi's sweat dropped at that. You forget a lot of stuff, Naruto, he said as he shook his head. So, what you need? Well, he started as he takes up a thinking pose. I need to get back, or I am in bigger trouble than when I left. So, can you give me a ride to the docks on the west side of the island? That, Naruto, I can do, he replied with a smirk. Naruto then jumped onto his back. See you guys next time I'm in the village, Naruto said, waving to the group of swordsmen in obvious pain from massive hangovers. Yeah, see ya, Shin said, leaving. Next time we met, you better have gotten started on giving me a godchild to spoil, Kagura said threateningly. And bring your wives over next time. And you better come to visit Sayuri and me when you get back next time, Sensei said, trying to get over his hangover. Okay, see you next time. He then had Gamakichi started to walk off. Let's go, Gamakichi, he yelled as they jump away. Thus, Naruto started his way back home. If he would have stayed a while more, he would have ran into some old friends. For on the other side of the village, an unusual group of 3 with a big dog entered the village later that night. Well, that boat ride was more informative than I thought it could be, Kiba said, dressed in civilian clothes. Who would have thought that Kiri has a new cage and the 7 ninja swordsmen of Kiri is back? We need to be more careful than I originally planned, Kurenai said while thinking. I'll go find a place to stay. You two look around, but are careful. She warned them. We will meet back here in an hour and call it a night. Right, let's go, boy. With a bark, Kiba and Akamaru took off to the right. I go this way, Shino stated as he left to go left, leaving Kurenai to go straight. Hope Guy's team is doing better, she thought, as she becomes just another person in the crowd. In Kumo, a man with big eyebrows sneezed, which in turn blows his cover with the Kumo nin now onto them. Are you alright? Tenten asked. I'm fine, but we got to go. Guy exclaimed as they dodge a lightning release technique. You 4 aren't going anywhere, a voice said suddenly as a squad of 6 Kumo Anbu surrounded them. Neji, how many are there? Are there more coming this way? Guy asked, taking a taijutsu stance. Byakugan. The veins around Neji's eyes pop out. It looks like there are these 6 and 4 ready to back them up. Give up and you'll be spared, the Anbu with a mask that resembles a dragon said. Or you could fight and die. I take it you are the leader of this team? Guy asked. That I am, he makes some sign to his man. Now your turn. What is Konoha's sublime green beast of prey? My Guy and his team doing here? Guy sensei, we can take them, Lee said in the same stance as his teacher. No Lee, this is a dangerous situation, Guy said as he tried to think of a plan. If we fight, we will be weakened and they can take us out during our retreat. If we surrender, we can buy some time to recover and form a plan, he thought hard. Neji, Tenten, Lee, yes sensei? They shout in unison. I'm afraid, my youthful students, we must be unyouthful and surrender, he said to the shock of his team. That was a wise decision, my friend. Men, arrest them. Now you'll continue to live, he said, reassuring them before he shrugged, or not. It all depends on your judgment. By Raikage-sama. Well, so much for reassurance. Tenten dropped her one-end bladed staff, much to her anger and disappointment. I just got it too. Lee stands tall, not even acknowledging the restraints. Neji, however, was thinking the same as Guy, trying to find a way out of this mess. You almost had us too. Next time though, don't go yelling about youth, one of the Anbu said. When we saw your faces, we were able to match them with your personality perfectly from the bingo book. True, the captain stated as he leads his men and their prisoners away. While your clothes change and the way you did things were good. You just underestimated us, he explained as he turns his head slightly so he could see over his shoulder. You even hid the Hyuga's eyes. That was a keen decision. But you didn't do the same to the traits that make you noticeable. This just causes members of Team Guy to sweat drop. How knew that their attitude would be the cause of the mission's failure? It has always helped in the past. In addition, to think they truly did not think about hiding more than Neji's eyes. Guess they did not think anyone outside Konoha would recognize them so easily by just simple things. The sky roars with its claps of thunder as a thunderstorm starts to roll through, making for an eerie night sky. They are taken to a tower the same as the Hokage Tower. The only difference is this tower is embedded into a cliff. The prisoners then taken into the Raikage's residence and were immediately sent to the Raikage's office. You four watch them while we go talk to Raikage-sama, the Anbu captain said as he in a snake mask Anbu follows him into the cage office. What? Was heard shortly after the Anbu enter the room. What are you waiting for? Bring those idiots in at once. Not needing the others to come tell them, the four remaining Anbu escort the captives into the office. They enter the room to find it similar in design to the Hokage office. The only differences are that it is essentially larger. In the corner near the desk are some weights and instead of a couch and a couple of chairs there are only the cage desk and chair. So you're the team Konoha has sent to spy on my village, he said with the back of his chair facing them. Tsunade has some nerve. He turns his chair around showing himself to them with Mabui at his side. She may be strong, but this is a serious crime. Snapping his fingers, 4 seats appeared, each with an Anbu bodyguard. Tell me everything you were sent to find. In Kiri, did you two find anything? Kurenai asked as Kiba showed up. No, not a thing, sensei, Kiba replied while shaking his head. We have a problem, the others turned to him. What do you mean, Shino? Kurenai asked turning to the bug user. I had a few of my bugs attach themselves to you too. And the ones on Kiba's sense he has a follower, the bug user replied in his stoic voice. How long ago was that? Kurenai asked with a serious face on her face with hidden panic. A while ago, it seems whoever it was needed to find something. We need to get going, is all Kurenai said as they took off. What do you want, Kagura? Can't I come to say, hi, to a fellow swordsman, Shin? Kagura acted innocent. Fine, I guess it is good to see you. You want anything? This is my home after all, Shin said as he walks around a corner. I have some water boiling. You want any tea? No, I'm fine, she answered from what can be assumed as the living room. Hey Shin? Yes. What is it? He said as he comes back around with a cup of tea. I was wondering if you have the latest bingo book, she said looking over his reading material. Taking a sip, he thinks for a moment then said, Yeah, I have a copy. You thinking of going and catching some bounties? Maybe, but I want to look at something first, Kagura said with a smile. Fine, just remember if you beat them too much, the collectors will not be able to recognize them and you might not get paid. He reminded her as he goes over to a door and opened it. Give me a minute, I keep all that type of stuff locked up in here. With that, he disappeared into the mysterious room. 2 minutes later, he exited and relocked the door. Here you go, he said as he handed her a small pocket-sized book. Let's see, she said it looking through the pages, found him. I knew that Mutt seemed familiar. She then shows him a picture of Kiba Inuzuka and his ninkin, Akamaru in the Konoha section of the bingo book. Wow. He's the first to get an animal with him, Shin looks at her. Why are you concerned with him? Alert the others. We have spies in Kiri. I saw him and this dog wandering in the streets last night, Kagura stated with seriousness. Realizing how serious this is, Shin dragged his, once Zabuza's, Kabikirabocho from its place leaning against the wall and strapped it to his back. They might have found out that Naruto was here. I won't let them kill or take him back to be tortured more from that pathetic excuse for a hidden village, Shin proclaimed as he kicks his front door open. Kagura, let's go. I will search for them and stall them. You get other swordsmen and spread the word. Mei was not having a good day so far. First, she receives a letter from a stating that Tsunade sent a team not just to Kumo, but to Kiri as well. Now Shin is in front of her reporting they have found spies in the village. And they're from Konoha, are they not? She asked. Yes, Uzukage-sama. How you know? Shin said much calmer than he was earlier. I just received a message from the Hokage saying that his Anbu picked up a team sent to spy on them as well. She looked up at Shin, sigh. Capture them alive. And only use force if the situation calls for it. Should we send a message to Naruto-sama? Uzukage-sama? He asked, a little concerned for his friend. Even if we did, he would not be back there until tonight. Let him rest some. She pulls out a special 3-pronged kunai knife with red engraving and shine to it. If it comes down to it, I'll call both A and Naruto here tomorrow. She twirls her chair around so he can see out the window. Go, you have your orders. Yes, Uzukage-sama. Shin then teleported out of the office. So, the possible war has reached us. She goes back to the paperwork covering his desk. Looks like Suna will get the help they seek. Naruto-kun cannot fool us. He'll go anyway. Kurenai and the remains of Team 8, now Team Kurenai, are walking down the busy market street of the village. They are trying to see if anyone knows about the war, but most of the people they meet do not associate with land outside the water country and their allies. Who do you two think they mean by allies? Kurenai asked her charges. I don't know, but Akamaru and I have been picking up a strange scent since we arrived, Kiba reported with uncertainness. I wonder if it has anything to do with the strange chakra signature my insects have been feeling. It's faint but here, Shino wondered. What do you two mean? The three stop in the middle of the street. Well, the scent is that shit. Kiba cursed as got into a taijutsu pose. Kurenai blinked before seeing 7 ninja have them surrounded. The men and women had their weapons drawn and ready to strike. Several swords of different types are aimed at vitals of the group. The people in the street stopped their business and watched what was happening. Come quietly and nobody gets hurt, Sentaro stated in an emotionless tune. Could they be was the murmurs of the villagers and shinobi that came to see what the commotion is proved Kurenai's assumptions correct. What could have got the 7 ninja swordsmen worked up about? Asked a civilian to his friends. I hate to be them right now, a Chunin guard said with a smirk. Facing the 7 ninja swordsmen is not my idea of a good time. His friends just agreed with him with a nod. I'll repeat, come quietly and nobody gets hurt. He moves his blade into a striking position above his head. We know you're shinobi from Konohagakure. And you are under arrest by order of the 4th Uzukage. At the statement of them being Konoha nin, the crowd turned fierce. Loud shouts of insults are thrown at them. Some of the kids in the area are throwing dirt and garbage at them. Hey, that's enough, Sansei yelled in anger. He then turned to the crowd, seriously pissed. We understand why you react this way. But this isn't what he would have wanted. At this Team 8 is utterly confused. However, they do not concern themselves with it. For if this is what they think of Konoha, then they cannot get help here. We surrender, Shino said for his team. You're a smart man, Aburame-san. Please come with us. He then started leading them off in the direction of the academy to place them in the holding cells under the tower for special war prisoners. Suigetsu stayed behind to deliver a piece of his mind to the crowd. You should be ashamed of yourselves. This is not what Naruto-sama would want of you. The crowd looked on with disbelief. We all know he and his wife, Hinata, were banished from Konohagakure. But he has people there that he still loves with all his heart. At this moment, the ground becomes popular with downcast faces. How do you know that one of those 3 or all of them are in that small group? You just did the same thing that hellhole of a hidden village did to him all those years. Praise his old man, the 4th Hokage, but beat him to a fucking bloody pulp. Suigetsu then jumped to the rooftops and races to catch up with his fellow swordsmen. The people slowly go back to what they were doing or just go home. Shame was all they could feel. To them, Naruto is a saint that they all care for. He has done so much for Kiri and water country in general. The thought of insulting someone whom he cares for is too much for them to handle. Some of the children are picked up by their mothers to stop their crying. Innocent minds are far too fragile for any world. The ones who threw stuff at the 3 are already fast asleep with tear-stained cheeks. Beneath the Uzukage residence, back with others, the group is guiding the 3 Konoha prisoners to their jail cells. One of the prisoners is smiling, not any smile, but a grinning smile. Even if he is a prisoner, Kiba had just learned something that made him very pleased and brought a smile to his face. It made him truly happy in a long time. One of his friends is alive and going great for himself. Moreover, if he flourishes then. If he could, he would laugh. Laughs so much one would think he is crazy. So he settles with the hope that he can live to meet him. He can see the look on his comrades' faces. When they see him, know them again, he is going to laugh to the point his sides burst. However, before that, he must make sure they live long enough for that to happen. Moreover, if that is the case, they will have to find a way to escape from their captivity. The sound of one of the capture's voices breaks his current mussing. "You are going to a special holding cell below the academy," one of the swordsmen said to them. They make a left in the next crossroads. The villagers seem to move to the sides to allow them passage. The one thing none of them misses from them is the hateful glares and the shaking of heads at their direction. "Why are you not taking us to the Uzukage or the interrogation corps?" Kurenai questioned. After processing everything, something seems off to her. "Why would we?" The one they can assume might be the leader asked them. "We already know why you are here. Tomorrow, you'll face the Uzukage and the council to determine your punishment." "How do you know that if you don't mind answering?" Kurenai asked, clearly surprised. Something is defiantly off. "I hope she can get a more surprised look than that," Shino wished with a rare genuine smile. "You will see tomorrow," is the response from the same man leading the group. "What about Akamaru?" Kiba asked, worried for his partner. "Your Ninkin Inuzuka will stay with you, but in a cell across from yours. We cannot allow you to use any of your techniques to escape." The blonde-haired woman with a sword consisting of a single-sided axe and a hammer joined by a length of chain in her hands to the right of him replied without even looking at them. "Two of us at a time will guard you until the meeting takes place," the other woman of the group said. "Who knows, you might even learn our names," she joked with half-hearted laugh. The one that had stayed behind now jumped down from a nearby roof and joined the circle around them. "Sorry for leaving you guys earlier," the last member of the group apologized upon his return. "I had to get something off my chest." "No worries," they replied. Wonder how badly he told the crowd off. Sentaro thinks to himself. That night in Uzushio, Naruto is standing on the porch of the main estate of the Uzumaki clan. The house itself is not that big. It was just a normal 4-story mansion, which the people of Uzushio, Kumo, and Kiri had paid for. No matter what he did or said, he could not talk them out of it. There were 10 bedrooms and 6 baths, not counting the master bedroom and built-in bath. A library for the family scrolls. In addition, a bathhouse that is more like a hot spring on the first floor. The estate is a different story. It is big enough to confine nearly 10 blocks combined with the old Hyuga compound in Konoha. It has lakes and a training ground behind the main house, and smaller ones scattered throughout the land. The pride of a king covers the estate's essential beauty. "I hope they're all asleep," he whispered to himself as he opens the front door. Walking in the dark is normally not easy to do, but when you get better eyesight from demons sealed within you, it is a lot easier. Making his way up the first set of stairs, he takes a left. He makes sure not to step on any of the floorboards that like to give of a nice wooden squeak when stepped on. Dodging obstacles like tables, potted plants and other decoration, he makes it to the spiral staircase that leads to the master bedroom and main 5 bedrooms on the third, for the 5 main bedrooms to the fourth for the master, love suite, as it has been called, bedroom. So far, so good, he thought as he reaches for the doorknob. Now only if I can get in and to bed without disturbing any of the girls. He slowly opens the door, stopping when it makes a squeak. He slips past through the crack he made in the door, carefully positions his back to the wall with his right hand on the door, slowly shut the door, and he pushes it close. Click. His eyes widen for a second. He then turned his head towards the bed. Holy shit, that is a bed. Forget queen and king size. That thing is monster, no god size. Anyway, back to the story. Using his enhanced vision, he can see the silhouettes of his 4 lovely women lying down on the bed. Only a slightly moving from the sound emanated from the door. Releasing a breath that he didn't even know he was holding, he made his way over to the bed, only to be stopped by a pair of smooth hands on his chest and soft lips on his own. Eyes widen as the lights are flipped on. Only one word goes through his head. And it just so happens to be the one that all 4 of the ones he saw on the bed said his exact same words. Busted, busted SSU. 4 sweet Y voices said with glee.
That's all for now. If you enjoy this video, then please like, share and do comments.